is responsible for providing two of these important services. Yes, in addition to delivering clean, reliable water, EMWD also handles the wastewater that leaves your home or business. So, what happens to water once it goes down the drain? It doesn't just disappear. In fact, since water is too valuable to use just once, we recycle the water so it can be used in places like parks, golf courses, and schools, as well as cooling regional power plants and water.
Councilmember Vallejo,
Here.
Councilmember Nava,
Present.
Mayor Vargas.
Present, thank you. Item 3 is our invocation, which will be led by Pastor Joe Sabolic from our New Creation Church. There he is. You please stand and join us and remain standing for item 4, which is our Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by Councilmember Corona.
All right, let's have a word of prayer. Father, we thank you so much for your amazing love and your goodness. And Father, as we're approaching Thanksgiving and Christmas, as we're celebrating, let us be mindful to be thankful, truly thankful to you who gave us life. And Father, we want to pray for each person in this place. I thank you for our wonderful Mayor Vargas and his beautiful wife, Julie. We pray for our city council, our city clerk, our sheriffs of this beautiful city. We pray for our fire department, our first responders, that you would keep them protected and keep them safe and strengthened during these holiday times. Lord, bless all the churches here in Paris, wonderful churches, as we are thankful, God, that we're able to gather together in freedom. Lord, we thank you that you so loved the world that you gave your only begotten Son, that whosoever would believe in him would not perish, but have everlasting life. For you did not send your Son into this world to condemn us, but to give us life. And so I pray for each person here that is gathered right now, Lord, that you would touch them, bless them, all the agendas that are here, Father, that they would be heard, that they'd be thought out. Bless our wonderful city council as they make crucial decisions for our wonderful city. And thank you for their service for us. Thank you for all that you're doing for us today and tonight. So bless this time as we're gathered. Let us be mindful that there's more than just this, but there's a God who loves us, who cares for us, and is concerned for each part of our lives. So bless this time, bless every person here, bless their families and friends, protect them, give them wisdom, bless the businesses, the attorneys, that they would prosper, Lord God, and lead and guide this wonderful city. Our city attorney, bless them also, Father. Thank you for your amazing grace here tonight. In Jesus' name, we all agreed together and said, Amen. Amen. Thank you. God
Thank you,
bless.
Pastor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Place your right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor. All right, moving on. Item 5 is report on closed session items. I'll call on our Assistant City Attorney to give a report.
Thank you, Mayor. The council met in closed session on closed session item A, and no reportable action was taken. The city council met in closed session on.
Ben, I don't think your microphone's on.
Oh, can you hear me? It's on. Can you hear me?
That's better.
The city council met in closed session on closed session item A, and no reportable action was taken. The city council met in closed session on closed session item B, and the city council gave authorization to initiate an action, legal action, and the action, the defendants, and the other particulars shall, once formally commenced, be disclosed to any person upon inquiry, unless to do so would jeopardize the city's ability to effectuate service of process on one or more unserved parties, or that to do so would jeopardize its ability to conclude existing settlement negotiations to its advantage. And the city council met in closed session on closed session item C, and no reportable action was taken. And the city council met in closed session on closed session item D, and no reportable action was taken. That concludes my report.
Thank you. All right, item 6 is our presentation announcements. 6A is a presentation to Ignacio Alvarez in recognition of his retirement from the city of Paris. This will be introduced by our Director of Public Works, Bryant Hill.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members, city staff. It is my pleasure to honor and recognize a long-tenured employee who has decided to move into the next chapter of life. Ignacio Alvarez, who has served this community for 21 years, has demonstrated dedication and made outstanding contributions to the city of Paris. Ignacio began his career with the city in 2004 as a fleet mechanic. In recognition of his skills and leadership, he was promoted to operations supervisor in 2021. Demonstrating his commitment to personal growth, Ignacio completed his master's degree from National University in 2022. Throughout his tenure, Ignacio has overseen the growth of fleet. Under his leadership, the fleet expanded from 45 vehicles and equipment to over 200 currently. He consistently demonstrated ownership and accountability while overseeing our fleet division, ensuring that all city vehicles and equipment remain safe and reliable for employees across all departments. In 2020, Ignacio followed his passion by teaching auto mechanics in the evening and on the weekends. His dedication to sharing knowledge and empowering others led him to a full-time teaching position, where he continues to inspire the next generation of automotive professionals. Congratulations, Ignacio, on pursuing your passion and making a difference in the lives of your students. On behalf of the City of Paris, we extend our heartfelt thanks for your 21 years of service and dedication to our community. Mayor, council members, if you'd come down and present
Absolutely.
this plaque and take a few pictures.
No, no, it's like from here, like to Diva. Right here.
Tess. All right. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to honor this beautiful plaque to Ignacio Alvarez, the operations supervisor, in appreciation for his 21 years of dedication and commitment to the city of Paris this November, from November 2004 to November 2025.
Nice, there, ready, 1, 2.
We're gonna do one with him first, and then we'll invite you up.
Yes, sir.
Sitting back, he's having a different lens. All right, guys, here we go. Ready, 1, 2. Beautiful. Stay right there for me. Ready, 1, 2. Nice. Can I have everybody take a shift this way for me, please? Long lens, crazy stuff. All right, here we go, guys. Perfect. Look good. Right, I'm sorry. Wrong lens. All right, guys. Here we go. Ready, 1, 2. Beautiful. Stay right there. Ready, 1, 2.
Okay, my turn. I took a couple. Thank you.
Don't go, because the council's going to say a few words. You want to? Hello, hello. All right, council, please cue in if you'd like to say your memoirs to Ignacio. Start with Councilman Corona.
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to thank Mr. Alvarez for his decades of service. Our fleets are all running well, and part of that is because of you. So thank you very much, and please enjoy your retirement. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, I'd like to also congratulate Mr. Alvarez on his retirement. Well-earned retirement. Enjoy your retirement, and thank you for the 21 years of service with the city.
Councilwoman Vallejo.
I just want to congratulate Mr. Alvarez because it's a really great deal that you're going back to teaching, or you're going to teach mechanics at Paloma, correct? And that's a really great gift to teach to students, and it's within our area. So I just really appreciate that. And Paloma Valley High School has a very great teacher, so I really appreciate you.
Councilwoman Nava.
Mr. Alvarez, I too would like to thank you for serving our city. I wish you a well retirement, even though you're semi-partially not retiring. But thank you so much for everything you do, and best of luck in your future endeavors.
And Mayor Vargas, yes. Oh, so congratulations, Mr. Alvarez. You did do a fantastic job here with the city. I hope you trained someone behind you to take over. But yeah, moving on to that next career, that next chapter as a teacher is awesome. So that means we're going to have many Ignacios running around town with your knowledge. So spread the wealth out with your knowledge base in mechanics. You did a good job here in Paris. So Paloma, that's Paris Union High School District. So they got someone good. They're lucked out. So our loss is their gain. So, but good luck to you. Thank you. All right, moving on. Item 7 is our Youth Advisory Committee communications, which will be given by Amy Reynoso, the Vice President.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, and City staff. My name is Amy Reynoso, and I am honored to serve as the 2025-2026 Vice President of the Youth Advisory Committee, or YAC. I would like to share a few exciting updates on behalf of YAC. First, YAC members are excited to host our first Women's League volleyball tournament on Saturday, December 6th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. This event will help us collect toys for our annual toy drive in collaboration with the Luera Family and Association. Next, we are thrilled to support staff with the upcoming holiday events, beginning with the tree lighting ceremony on Friday, December 5th, followed by the Winter Wonderland on Saturday, December 6th. Our members look forward to contributing and engaging with the community during these festive celebrations. Lastly, our monthly YAC Open Mic Night will be held on Friday, December 12th from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. We encourage all youth to attend, participate, and showcase their talents. As always, we encourage the community to stay safe, stay engaged, and stay connected. For the latest updates on our programs and events, please follow us on social media at Paris YAC. Thank you for your time and your continued support. We truly appreciate your partnership in making Paris a vibrant, welcoming, and inspiring place for youth and families. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, item 5 is our public comment. This is the time when any member of the public may bring a matter to the attention to the mayor and the city council that is within our jurisdiction of the city council. We're limited to 3 minutes. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Luz Gallegos.
I'm talking on one of the items that's on the agenda as well, but I think I should wait because there's an item, or you want me to share it?
Yes, it's
Just
just for
wait?
non-agenda items.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sandra Reyes?
Good night. Mi nombre es Sandra. I'm going to speak
Okay,
in
hold
Spanish.
on. Can we get the translator up front, please?
Hola. Ok. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Sandra y vivo aquí en Perris y también soy miembro de TODEC.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra. I live in Paris, and I'm also a member of TODEC.
El día de hoy voy a hacer un comentario público a consideración de los derechos de vivienda.
Today, I want to make a public comment in regards to the rights of living.
Mi comentario es para...
Okay, espérate un momento, señora. This is not a non-agenda item, so what's the item, a number for the Just Cause?
Is that just cause?
11F?
11F.
That's for item 11F. She needs to come back at that time and speak. This is only for items that are not on the agenda items, folks.
Pero como este está, cuando toque el tema 11 ya puede regresar. Bueno.
Who else did you have?
Luis Angel?
Is this for the same thing, Luis? Yeah, you're gonna have to wait then.
Ramon Jimenez?
You hear Ramon?
The same. Alfredo Adriano?
Alfredo, are you here for the Just Cause ordinance? Are you here for the Just Cause ordinance? Okay, good. Come on up, sir.
How you doing? Thank you for hearing me. I'm here, I guess, to rally against Horton a little bit. You guys have heard me before. Malcolm's on my side, so I'm trying to get the other councilmen, make sure you guys are on my side. So Horton came in, as everybody knows, and put all these mounds of dirt there, thousands and thousands of truckloads of dirt, endless trailers of dirt for months. And they were only supposed to put it 5 foot high. It turned into 30 foot high. Okay? And then they decided to clean the dirt. Caring for us, the neighbors? Nope. Okay? So I've got a dirty house. My wife's nagging me. She wanted to divorce me not even 2 weeks ago because of all the dirt and dust. I can't clean. She's working, I'm not. Okay? So I want to rally and see if I can get support from all the councilmen. So if this comes to some kind of vote, you will look toward the people who live here right now and pay taxes right now, and rally to our side. So the earth movers were here, for months, and apparently they weren't supposed to. They didn't have permits to move all this earth. Okay, they've re-landscaped or redone most of their lots, it looks like, and they weren't supposed to. They didn't have the permits to do that, but they did it anyway, okay? The dust infiltration I talked about, now, and also it's land settling. A lot of my neighbors aren't here. I just came because in case there was something to be said about this. The land settling is they're like crazy, cracking cement, cracking walls. I mean, at first, I didn't really think about it, but I went out and looked at a toy gym set we had for the kids. Well, 6 inches off, okay? It was perfectly straight for 2 or 3 years while I've lived there. Now it's 6 inches, bent or leaning. Okay, now that's sort of ridiculous, but it proves the point that the other neighbors probably had a reason that their cement cracked like crazy, their walls cracked like crazy. Okay, so now I'm on their side, okay? Now that the rain hit, okay, back of my yard flooded. 2-3 weeks ago, I told these people, you've got to take down the berm that you put against the fence that's there. Okay, because that's the way my property gets rid of water. It goes toward that fence, goes under the fence. It has always gone toward their property, but they decided to put dirt against the fence. Now the back of my property flooded. Yes, they fixed it today, but I complained 3 weeks ago, and now they wait till the last minute till the rains hit. What is it? Okay, are we supposed to babysit Horton? Aren't they supposed to be builders that know their job?
Thank you, Alfredo. Your time's up. You're welcome.
That is all.
All right. Item 9 is, is approval of minutes. 9A is consideration to approve the minutes of the regular joint meeting held on October 14, 2025 of the City Council and all the other agencies as listed on our agenda. There are no comments or questions. I'll entertain a motion to approve. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Mayor Pro Tem Rabb. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Item 10 is our consent calendar item. Consent calendar items are enacted in one motion. The mayor or city council may remove a consent calendar item for a separate action. We will have public comment. Council, anybody have anything they want to pull for a separate vote or discussion?
Yes, I'd like to pull item 10H.
10H for discussion or a separate vote?
Discussion.
Anybody else? Councilwoman Nava?
Thank you, Mayor. I too wanted to pull 10 H's and Henry.
Okay, but that's done already. All right, before we vote on this, City Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. For item 10M, Alex Mesa.
M as in Mary?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Good evening, folks. Members of the council, everyone present or watching, whatever the context. So, to get through this pretty succinctly today, whatever has to be done in order to structurally save the original, Bank of Paris structure, that's a double priority for, the reasons that it itself is one of the, great historic structures of downtown Paris that's still there, that is very original, in some ways a little too original for its own good, in some ways its original restoration some years back did not account for the things that are now have been bringing about its demise. And so I'm really glad that this is being tended to, because the second reason it's a priority is that it is supposed to be the city's joint effort to help archive the history of the city that we've essentially developed and repaved over. It gives us an actual sense of context of who and what came before us, without which we are very much blinded. And so it is disheartening to see how long it took, not just in terms of, maybe getting the approvals, which in some ways may have been a little more involuntary, but just in terms of how long it took for this to also be noticed, how much inaction there was from the supposed custodians of this place, and just how bad the humidity got. Our city has on file, from when they had a proper archivist there, their report on what the conditions should be like inside that building. Max humidity, 35, 40%, anything more than that detrimental. I went in there with a hygrometer, 80, 90% humidity. And it had been that way for months, through the summer months. No inventory has been taken of what's actually been damaged. Countless thousands of priceless artifacts. Some of you on the council, your own families your own families. You know, you've contributed photos and things that could be damaged now. I mean, for God's sake, if not your own, let's care about this. So, yes, get that money in, get it done, but also the people deserve a time frame for when they're going to be able to access our collective heritage again. That's also one of the main things, because it has not been accessible for a long time, and it has actually, in some ways, whether we realize or acknowledge it or not, in some ways, because of the potential loss there, it has left us paralyzed. So thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
All right, so we're looking to a motion to approve 10A, B, C, D, E, F, G, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T. Almost hit the alphabet. I have a motion by Councilman Corona, second by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb. Please call the vote.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. All right, Mayor Pro Tem Rabb on item 10H.
Yes, 10H was to extend the road closure at Ellis and Redlands. Initially, the council had agreed to a road closure at Ellis and Redlands to provide the facilitation of the expanded interchange in that area, stoplights, to provide access for the IDI project that is currently being built. Initially, the project was slated to open spring of 2025. Due to some issues with SCE, Southern California Edison, and the overheading and underheading of lines, I believe that the project is they're asking to extend that closure to April 17th of 2026. My main concern would be, what, if any, penalties are we going to impose upon them if this closure goes beyond April 17th, 2026? I know 5 or 6 years ago when we closed off Nuevo, we had a clause in that if the developer or the person tasked with constructing the bridge, if they went beyond a certain date, we would start getting liquidated damages or some sort of damages. I wonder if we could maybe insert into that provision that after April 17th, 2026, provided there's not a natural disaster, something outside of the hands of the developer, that they start paying the city for the damages. Because I live not too far from that area, and I've noticed an uptick, especially down Paris Boulevard. The stop sign at Paris Boulevard and 7th Street, you never saw traffic backed all the way up to 5th Street or back the other way down to 9th Street, even the railroad tracks. And I believe that part of that is because of the Ellis Redlands interchange has been closed. Because a lot of people get off on 4th and Redlands. They take it there. If they're going down toward Green Valley, Councilman Corona's area, they'll take that route. But they're either going down 7th to G or going down 7th to Paris Boulevard. So I think it's been an issue for anybody that lives in the downtown area, anybody that has to go traverse through that area. So I'd like to see if we could look into maybe putting some sort of damages if they go beyond the 17th of April.
Any other comments? Councilman Corona? Councilwoman Nava?
Thank you, Mayor. I also wanted to add, if I could request for staff to work with IDI and SE in hopes of expediting this, because this was closed in October of 2024, so it's been over a year ago. And the fact that they're requesting an extension, I'm just concerned about safety and emergency response times. So along with what Mayor Pro Tem Rabb mentioned, I also was hoping if we could find some other solutions in order to expedite that closure. Those are all my comments. Thank you.
Councilman Corona?
So I don't have a lot to say about that, because I absolutely agree with my two colleagues. I think that they need to be held accountable if they do go forward. But if the city can do anything to help expedite it as well, I fully support that as well.
Mr. City Engineer, is there a reason for the extension or cause? My understanding is not completely controlled by the developer.
Thank you, Mayor. The initial closure that we had processed and got permit for, everything was supposed to be on schedule until there was, a design change that Edison had to comply with. They couldn't come into terms with RCTC in order to have the electrical, cables relocated. So it took a total redesign and, additional costs. The developer did look into alternatives to open the road temporarily. However, Metrolink didn't agree with that. They wanted the full improvements done before they allow any type of vehicular movement over their easement, the railroad area. So we can certainly talk to Edison. Maybe we can get some kind of expediting on the matter, but they're already scheduled. Everything is being ordered. So that April 17 is the timeline that they provided to us.
But has Edison figured out their issues and along with RCTC?
That's correct. So they're
Now
trying.
now the contractor can move forward.
That's correct. And they did provide a schedule.
Okay.
That's why we have the April 17 timeline.
All right. Madam City Manager, did you want to?
No, I also want to mention the applicant is here tonight also.
Great. You heard Councilman's or Mayor Pro Tem's request.
Mayor Pro Tem, so for the Nuevo Bridge, Mayor Pro Tem, that was a capital improvement program project. So we did have a set timeline for that. In order to have some fines or citations in case it goes beyond, we have to look into if there's any provisions for us to do that. We can certainly look into that as well.
Yes, if we can look into that. I'm not too sure if we should maybe move forward with the motion today or continue it to the December 9th meeting, and then we can have a full answer on that. I think that might be the better cause of action. I'd make a motion then to continue this matter to our December 9th meeting so that we could get further instruction on whether or not we could put some sort of damages if it goes beyond April the 17th.
I would second that.
All right. We got a motion and a second to continue this to December 3rd.
December
December 3rd?
9th.
9th.
Yeah.
You want to call a vote for that? And then, you're going to look into all this requirements?
That's correct. We get with legal and see what
Yes.
measures we can come up with.
You'll definitely get a response from legal as well. All right, call the vote, please.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. All right, that concludes our consent calendar. Item 11 is our public hearings. 11A is consideration to adopt proposed resolution numbers next in order regarding annexations of DPR 20-00021. This is Redlands East to the City Maintenance Districts. DPR 20-00021 is located at Redlands Avenue, south of Ryder. Council, if no one has objections, this is our routine issues that we do for annexations. If they don't, we can bypass the report and go straight to the process. I'm hearing no objections. I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:04. Madam Clerk, did we have any requests to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Okay, we're going to close it at hearing at 7:04. And I'll ask the city clerk to open up the 3 ballots.
City of Paris annexation of DPR 20-00021, Maintenance District number 84-1. The ballot is marked yes. City of Paris annexation of DPR 20-00021 to benefit zone 201, landscape maintenance district number 1. The ballot is marked yes. City of Paris annexation of DPR 20-00021 to benefit zone 165, flood control maintenance district number 1. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you. All right, this time I'll call for a motion on the three resolutions. Motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb. Please call the vote.
Five-0 motion approved.
Thank you. 11B is another annexation. This is to consider it to adopt proposed resolution numbers next in order regarding annexation of DPR 20-00021 Redlands East to the CFD 2001-3. This is the North Paris Public Safety District. I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:06. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Hearing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:06. I'll call for a motion on the first resolution. I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb, second by Councilwoman Corona. Please call the vote.
Five-0 motion approved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you open up the ballot, please?
Community Facilities District Number 2001-3, North Paris Public Safety of the City of Paris, Annexation Number 73, Special Tax and Appropriations Limit Election. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you. All right, this time I'll call for a motion on the second resolution. A motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
Five-0 motion approved.
Thank you. 11C is another annexation. This is consideration to adopt proposed resolution numbers next in order regarding the annexation of DPR-20-00021. This is Redlands East. This is to the CFD 2018-02, which is our Public Services District. I'll open up the public hearing at 7:08. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none, close the public hearing at 7:08. I'll call for a motion on the first resolution. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilwoman Vallejo. Please call the vote.
Five-0 motion approved.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, can you open up the ballot, please?
Community Facilities District Number 201A-02, Public Services District of the City of Paris, Annexation Number 30, Special Tax and Appropriations Limit Election. The ballot is marked yes.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, I'll call for a motion on the second resolution. A motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, item D is consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order associated with CFD number 20-22-3 Stratford Ranch. This is to finance certain public facilities located within improvement area number 1 of the CFD. Improvement area number 1 is located along the east line of Evans Road, south of Marbella Gate, and north of Ramona Expressway within the city. The proposed resolution number next in order was entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Paris Acting for the City and its Capacity as the Legislative Body of Community Facilities District Number 2022-3, Stratford Ranch of the City of Paris, authorizing the issuance of bonded indebtedness and the agreements, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $8,000. $8 million, excuse me. Is it $8 million or 8,000? $8 million. $8 million. To the finance public facilities, approving certain documents and taking certain other actions in connections therewith. This will be introduced by our Director of Finance, Matthew Schenk.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. Jim Fabian from Fieldman, Rowlap and Associates will present.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Jim Fabian, excuse me, of Fieldman, Rowlap and Associates, City Municipal Advisor. We have a short presentation to walk through related to this item in front of you tonight for improvement area number 1. Let's see. Doesn't seem to be moving. This one?
You can maybe just say next slide and.
Okay. All right, great. Next slide, please. Thank you. It might be frozen.
Turn it back on, and there we go.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, great. So tonight in front of you, we have for approval is issuance of bonds for improvement area number 1. These bonds will be secured by the special taxes levied in the improvement area. There's no obligation of the City of Paris to pay for the debt service on the bonds. The proceeds from the CFD bonds will be used to reimburse the developer for improvements and fees that they have paid related to the infrastructure for the housing development that they have built. This is a aerial showing in red the outline of improvement area number 1. This district was actually formed back on January 10th of 2023. We actually formed 2 improvement areas. This is solely for one of those improvement area, number 1. As the mayor mentioned, the authorization is up to $8 million, and he had delineated the location of the CFD off of Evans Road, north of Ramona Expressway. This is almost completely built out improvement area. There's 107 homes that are located within the boundaries of the improvement area. Pulte Homes is the developer. As of October 15th, which is, almost a month ago now, 89 of the homes were conveyed or sold to the residents who live in them. 18 are under construction, and most of those are in escrow to be sold to residents, future residents. At the time of the appraisal that was done on August 6th, we also had that appraisal brought forward to October 15th. It was the assessed value of the improvements were about $52 million for the total of the improvement area. These are non-rated bonds secured by the property located within the improvement area and secured by the special taxes that will be levied against the homes within the improvement area. As I mentioned, the proceeds will be used to fund a project fund that will reimburse the developer for the infrastructure and fees that they have paid for the improvement area. That's roughly about $5.6 million, the project fund that you can see there under the sources and uses. The city, as we have talked about before, for every residential unit that is built, there's a fee paid of $1,000 per residential unit, so $107,000 will come to the city for city capital improvements. There's a debt service reserve fund that is established that is for the benefit of the bondholders, and the cost of issuance are roughly about $337,000. The not-to-exceed parameters are $8 million, and we always give ourselves a lot of headroom there just in case interest rates change or there's some other unforeseen variable. We're very confident the actual size of the bond issue will be $6,515,000. The true interest cost, the parameter is 6.5%. We're going to be under 5%, and the underwriter's discount was 1.5%. These are 30-year bonds. They will mature on September 1 of 2056. Looking at the special taxes that will be levied on the homes within this improvement area, as I mentioned, the property has an appraised value of $52 million. And when you compare that to the $6.5 million of bonds, we have a total value to lien ratio of 7.64 to 1. The city's adopted policies for debt have a minimum 4 to 1, so we're above the 4 to 1 value to lien that is in the city's policies. Also, the city's policies require the total effective tax rate that a resident would pay to be 2% or less. Under the proposed debt issuance, we'll have 1.89% effective tax rate, so we meet that policy threshold. You can see there the breakdown of the different home types within this development, with homes up above 3,300 square feet to right around 2,100 square feet. And then the special tax rate is dependent upon the square footage of the home within the improvement area. We have roughly about $375,000 of special tax levy each year. That escalates by 2% a year. Tonight, in your packet, you have the preliminary official statement. This is the marketing document that the city's underwriter, Oppenheimer and Company, will use to market the bonds to the public. We have the continuing disclosure agreement, which outlines the information that will be provided to the marketplace on an annual basis to tell the marketplace about the development and the status of development within the improvement area. The fiscal agent agreement outlines the terms under which principal and interest are paid to bondholders over the life of the bonds and the accounting of the different pots of money that identified the improvement fund, the reserve fund, and the cost of issuance fund. The bond purchase agreement is the contract between the city and Oppenheimer, where they buy the bonds from you and then resell them to the public. Each of these documents have been described in the staff report that was prepared for the council. So tonight we have approval of the resolution, which would authorize the issuance of up to $8 million of bonds to finance the public facilities for this particular improvement area and all the documents required for that transaction. I'm joined tonight by Daniel Louie of Wildan. Rick Brandis of Oppenheimer is also here as well if you have any questions of any of the finance team. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim. Council, anybody have any quick questions before I open up the public hearing? All right, seeing none, I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:19. Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak?
No, sir.
Anybody wishing to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none. We'll close at 7:19. Back to you, Council. If there's no questions, I'm going to call for a motion on the resolution. Have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Rabb, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Great, thank you. 11E, consideration to adopt proposed resolution number next in order regarding a specific plan amendment, SPA 22-05380, to amend the Paris Valley Commerce Center specific plan to rezone 5.47 acres from commercial zone to business professional office zone to facilitate the construction of a self-storage facility at a recently approved retreat at Lake Paris mixed-use commercial/residential development located on the north side of Dawes Street between Paris Boulevard and Redlands Avenue. The applicant is Marwan El Abbasi. This item will be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Mr. Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. This item will be presented by our Senior Planner, Nathan Perez.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council. On September 30th, 2025 of this year, City Council unanimously approved the retreat at Lake Paris, which is a mixed-use project. The approval included requiring that the self-storage site be rezoned to a business professional office zone and subject to a conditional use permit for consistency with the citywide zoning code. The applicant, Mr. El Abbasi, is now proposing an SPA to rezone 5.47 acres for the self-storage site from commercial to business professional office as requested by the City Council. Based on that, City staff recommends that the council adopt resolution adopting the addendum to the EIR and also approving the specific plan amendment to rezone the self-storage facility from commercial to BPO, based on the findings contained herein. This concludes my presentation, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nathan. Council, any quick questions? I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:22. Madam Clerk, do we have any requests to speak?
Yes, sir. Alex Mesa.
Good evening, everyone. The section of the property being discussed is still fairly relevant to very pertinent issues with the development overall. So to get into it right away, I'm going to simply restate. It is a matter of record. Several members of this council did expect notice to be given to the approximately 250 households of the Special Occupancy Park CRA, including permanent space holders and many families, your constituents, residents of one of the oldest places to live in all of northern Paris. Even if it were possible for developers to work out details of what to give back to the community with a select few members, this is inherently not what the residents of the city deserve when it comes to deciding their futures. Let's once again get into what the people actually deserve there and may have asked for if this project had not hidden away for so long after the warehouse variant, quite frankly, lost out. So they didn't deserve a warehouse and now they won't get one. That's good. Self-storage is quieter. The apartments also suit the north of Paris, where land is getting scarce because of warehouse overdevelopment. Go figure. These families still don't deserve to be cut off, walled off. They deserve a way to make it straight onto Dawes as pedestrians, just as Dawes deserves continued landscaping and development for the current and future residents right there. So let us please, as we are doing this, refine the plan to account for these things. Let us not go back on our own word when the people deserve to have been notified through their central mail office in the first place. The people don't want to be cut off. The property proposed for development used to be part of CRA. And you may not find the concept of a simple pedestrian walkway, some kind of small accommodation so people are still able to go to the south through this area where the storage unit is being self-storage business development is being proposed. But it's all anyone needs at this point. Because it is a very minimal concession, it is something that should be considered for over 250 households who were here, many of them long before, some of them permanent, again, space holders, people who've been there 20 years, people with children, grandchildren, multi-generational. Again, some may not find it glamorous, but it is what it is. These people are subject to certain protections. A good neighbor policy still ought to apply. So keeping in mind that this whole thing kind of went through without their consent in the first place, The least we can do for them is still give them that way so they can go north or south if they want to, rather than just have people, ghettoized, walled off. That's not something that I suppose the people would have consented to, again, if this had been allowed to come up amongst them organically, if they had been notified the way that members of this council said that they really deserved to before this proceeded in the first place. So let's try and put the kibosh on this nicely. Let's try and give this a good conclusion that actually suits your constituents and the people of Paris. Thank you.
Hey, quick question, Mr. Mesa. With the proposed project, how would that prevent the residents at the camper resorts from going to Dawes?
Well, because the original proposal, which I imagine is still being kept to, I think the wall isn't as high in this version now, but the idea was that the entire western side of Camper Resorts of America would be basically walled off. The original idea was, partly for sound as well as the visual obstruction of the warehouse. Now the idea of the wall being there or a fence or anything, having it mostly there is still fine for security reasons. It is another property at this point, However, to have it entirely contiguous starts to become a little bit of overkill. It starts to provide not so much benefit, but just the loss of a benefit, the loss of mobility for the people who are living there. Because again, there's no more of this noise or obstruction really.
Right.
Self-storage and RV storage is quieter, right? If there was just a few feet, right, where it wasn't quite contiguous wall or fencing, where if people just had a corner where people were still able to just go about their business, that would give them access to transit. People also go to Morgan Park from there, frankly. They go on to Paris Boulevard from there. I'm not saying like a driveway or anything, but just something.
But the residents could still go south onto Dawes, right?
Well, they can't really. No, not if it proceeds the way where it just has a contiguous wall to the west, because there's an emergency exit to the south. But I will say that emergency exit, they didn't even find the keys when the fire happened on this property that is proposed for development. The fire that almost got to all the trailers and almost got to everyone. I was there. And actually, people were fumbling and running around. They weren't able to actually get the emergency exit. It became a bottlenecked on the north side. So if we wall everyone off permanently, you can't run, you can't hide. It's kind of not good psychologically. It's not good development-wise. It's unnecessary. It's overkill. I think a minimal accommodation of this nature would be enough to help really clarify what kind of development we're into in the north of Paris, which is just something that actually works for everyone.
But in reality, you're accessing private property. That's not public property to be walking through. That's all.
Okay,
It's a statement.
I understand that. There are developments. I understand that in the past, we haven't asked very much of people who come with different proposals. I understand that
It's just a statement, Alex.
there are times, no, I understand it's just a statement. However, there are.
Alex, I'm not going to get into a debate with you. It's just a statement that it is private property. It's not public. It's not an access.
No, naturally, I'm not a
thing.
child. I understand
Okay, all
this.
right, well, thank you for your
Vargas.
comment.
No. Listen, please.
Your time is up. Thank you. Alex, we allowed you to talk. Alex, thank you so much. Alex, you may take a seat now. Who's next? Alex, I don't want to have you removed by the sheriff. Alex, you're out of time now. You need to sit down. All right, Deputy, can you come out, please? This man is interrupting the meeting. Do we have someone else?
That is all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to close the public hearing at 7:29. And I'll call for a motion on the resolution unless any. Council, no one has any more questions or comments. I'll entertain a motion for a resolution. No, we're done. I have a motion by Councilwoman Nava, second by Councilman Corona. Please call the vote.
5-0, motion approved.
Thank you. Item F is consideration to adopt the first reading of a proposed ordinance number next in order to address the just cause eviction protections pursuant to AB 1482. This is going to be introduced by our Director of Economic Development and Workforce, Michelle Ogawa.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and members of the council. This item is the first reading of ordinance number next in order to address just cause eviction protections in the city of Paris. For background on this item, the item originated at the November 14, 2023 city council meeting. There was a business item discussion, and it was directed to go to the Ways and Means Committee for discussion. From there, it was brought forward on October 14, 2025, for a business item discussion to scope the draft ordinance for a local just cause ordinance. From that discussion, there was some follow-up information that was requested about current numbers in the city of Paris. So the total rental units documented by current business license data, it totals 162 rentals in the city. 140 of those are single-family homes, 2 of which are owned by individuals. The remainder are owned by either limited partnerships, corporations, or LLCs. 12 are mobile home units. 10 are owned by individuals. The other 2 are owned by LLCs or limited partnerships. And then 10 are multifamily apartment complexes. We were also asked to bring back information on potential costs for administration and enforcement of the ordinance. Based on the discussion that took place on October 14th and the draft that's before you tonight for the public hearing, we don't anticipate any additional city resources that would need to be diverted to administration or enforcement. The current administration of the city's role in maintaining our broader authority to address resource connections and education, informational resources to the community as part of the customer service would be able to remain. The state would enforce any components of the ordinance if they align with AB 1482.
Yeah, just brief question. So you're saying in the whole city of Paris, we have 140 single-family homes for rent that have a license?
That have a license, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So also, were there any questions on the follow-up information? Okay, thank you. So the draft ordinance tonight, I'm going to run through the discussion feedback from the business item, and then I'll take you through each component that was discussed to be in the draft ordinance that's on the agenda tonight. So the applicability was recommended to align with AB 1482, which applies when all tenants have lawfully occupied the residence for more than a year, or when at least one tenant has lawfully occupied the residence for more than 2 years, a minimum of 2 years. During that discussion, there was also a question about applicability to mobile homes. So the current AB 1482 provisions do apply to mobile homes, with the exception of mobile homes that are renting a space in a mobile home park, because those are governed by their own state code. But this does apply to mobile home tenancy. The next item is the exemptions. So that was also recommended to align with AB 1482. So these properties are the units where the just cause eviction protections would not apply. So that includes hotels, short-term rentals, student housing, nonprofit hospitals, religious facilities, care facilities, adult residential facilities, owners in the roommate's home, single-family homes that are not owned by a real estate investment trust, corporation, or LLC would be exempt. So any owned by individuals are exempt from the just cause protections. And then there was also a question on this particular item about establishing a process for LLCs that are owned by individuals rather than corporations to be able to show that to qualify for the exemption. Upon further review of the language of AB 1482, that language is actually already built in. So the LLC, the exemption applies for LLC-owned properties if the LLC is not wholly or partially owned by a corporation. And so that's already existing under 1482. The remainder of the exempted properties include owner-occupied homes, deed-restricted affordable housing, and at any point, homes that were built in the last 15 years. So the next two components are the definitions, the basis for the evictions. The at-fault definition was recommended to align with 1482, but with some revision. So the full list includes rent default, breach of lease, nuisance, criminal activity on the property, and we've added the documentation to qualify by police report. Criminal threat to landlord or other tenants also documented by, and I'm sorry, that should also include an incident log. That's in the draft ordinance as well. Both take an incident log or a police report. That's included in the draft before you. Subletting in violation of the lease, any damage to the property, occupancy beyond the stated date, in an intent to vacate, preventing the owner access to the property, and any other violation of the existing lease agreement terms. And this at-fault definition are the eviction bases where the just cause evictions would not apply. The no-fault definition is where the just cause protections would kick in. So that was recommended to largely align with 1482, but with some revision. One item is owner reclamation of the property for direct move-in or move-in of qualifying family members. That's where the revision was discussed at the October 14th business item. We discussed adding great-grandchildren, great-grandparents, and in-laws to that list. That actually, upon further legal review, was not able to be included in the draft ordinance. The cities are only allowed to enact ordinances that are more protective to tenants, and that particular change would be deemed less protective to tenants. So the draft before you is, as is, aligns with 1482 directly. The remainder of the no-fault definition eviction bases include the owner removal of the property from the rental market, a government court order or a local ordinance requiring vacation, or the owner's intent to demolish or substantially remodel the unit, or a major system or component. And then finally, we have the tenant protections in the current draft. That also was recommended to align with 1482, but with some revision. It currently, 1482 currently requires mandated written notice and a minimum 3-day period to pay or quit, minimum 7 to 10 day period to cure any violation. We've added a requirement for multilingual notices, and what's drafted in the ordinance before you it refers to California Civil Code Section 1632, which requires that the lease documents are provided in the language that was utilized to negotiate the lease terms. So the ordinance applies that code section also to any notices for termination in the draft ordinance. The remainder of the tenant protections relate to, a couple of them relate to parameters for the eviction bases. One is for the no-fault eviction. For owner reclamation of the property, it requires move-in of the owner or the family member within 90 days of vacation. And it also further requires that that individual would have to utilize the residence as their primary residence for a minimum of 12 months. For no-fault evictions, regarding the substantial remodel item, there's also details, set parameters in there that the work can only be on major systems within the unit. Minor repair work, cosmetic repair work, aesthetic improvements that can be completed with the tenant in place do not qualify for this particular basis. And additionally, it requires that the vacation would have to be a minimum of at least 30-day duration in order to qualify. It also requires that the landlord provide to the tenant documentation in advance of commencing the work. That includes the scope of work, the anticipated duration of the work, and a copy of any required permits. The tenant protections also include a cap on rent increases, which includes over the course of any 12-month period. The rent increases are limited to the lower of 5% plus the percentage change in the cost of living, or 10% of the lowest gross rent for that specific unit at any time in the previous 12 months. And it also requires relocation assistance equal to 1 month's rent or waiver of the final month's rent.
Ms. Ogawa, I'm sorry, if we could go back to the last slide. I had a question. Since our last meeting, constituents reached out and continue to advocate for the 2.5 no-fault relocation assistance. Could you please review the framework of how the city could support that initiative?
So if the council desires, we can change that tonight, and we can document that to bring forward to the second reading. The remainder of the basis of the ordinance would remain the same. That would just be one of the changes that would go into the legal framework and requirements here in the city of Paris that tenants would be aware of and entitled to.
Thank you.
Go on.
Okay, thank you. So with that, staff recommends that the City Council hold a public hearing and introduce the first reading of ordinance number next in order addressing just cause eviction protections pursuant to AB 1482.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ogawa. All right, this time I'm going to open up the public hearing at 7:40. Madam Clerk, how many requests we have to speak on this item?
I have 10.
Okay, fair enough. All right,
Maybe we can get the speakers up at the first seat, so we can.
yeah, let me run the meeting. I can take care of that. All right, go ahead and we're going to call everybody up, and all 10 people who have registered to talk, just go ahead and remind their names.
Okay.
And we have to mention it in Spanish to come sit up in front for those. And we have our Spanish translator ready to go too?
Okay.
Very good.
Luz Gallegos, Sandra Reyes, Luis Angel, Ramon Jimenez, Maribel Nunez, Veronica Garcia, Alex Mesa,
Siéntese ahí enfrente donde dice reserve en los sillas, por favor.
Lupe Gomez, Annabelle Nevarez. Luz Gallegos?
Yes. Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, and our City Council. Thank you, first of all, for supporting this just cause that we started speaking with you all since 2023, late 2023. But at this time, I really want to continue uplifting the struggle of our most vulnerable population here in the city of Paris. As organizers, we continue to hear the hardship of all community members across the board, from different populations of the struggle, economic struggle, and pain that our community is suffering, especially with the high cost of rent, not having access to affordable housing, not having access to quality jobs. We continue to see warehouses coming in, but this is not a living wage for our community. This is, we continue to see those that are actually traveling outside, the cost of transportation. So my responsibility is to uplift the stories of community members, and with this opportunity, we also have the opportunity to implement financial assistance to provide evictions that don't have fault. We continue to document stories from community members that have been in these situations, and if they would have had access to financial assistance, that would have made their burn less. As we all know, many residents in our city live paycheck to paycheck. If they don't work one day, that impacts the well-being and the safety net of these families. And when these situations occur and not having access to any type of savings, this has put our community living in cars, moving into other households. So we have the opportunity to continue with Just Cause, but actually implement a financial assistance for impacted families here in the city of Paris. Angel, can you bring the box, por favor? We have collected thousands of signatures from Paris residents that are supporting this measure, and we're very thankful to the Councilmember Nava to sitting in with community members of our residents and them uplifting the stories to her and how kids crying, not having access to a home. We have all been there with our struggle, and we've always done the right thing in the city of Paris, and I do asking you for your support and really thinking through and implementing financial assistance. And right here, we collected thousands of petitions from our city residents asking you all to continue expanding financial assistance for those that are that have these situations with evictions. Thank you again, and I know you all will do the right thing, how we've all done the right thing in the past here in the city of Paris. God bless you all, and God bless everybody that's here present as well.
Thank you.
Sandra Reyes.
All right, you need to double the timer, being it's a translator.
Ok. Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Sandra y yo vivo aquí en la ciudad de Perris
Good evening. My name is Sandra. I live here in the city of Paris.
y también soy miembro de TODEC. El día de hoy vengo a hacer un comentario público en consideración de los derechos de vivienda.
I am also part of TODEC, and I live here in Paris. Today, I come to make a comment, public comment, in regards to the housing.
Mi comentario es para solicitar que tomen en su consideración de adopción de las dificultades que los trabajadores enfrentamos
My
respecto
comment is to talk about your consideration in to take the adaptation in regards to. ¿Sigue?
de adopción de las dificultades que la clase trabajadora, como también nosotros enfrentamos respecto al precio de las rentas.
The difficulties as workers that we face in regards to rent.
Y que actualmente ocupan un porcentaje más alto del gasto familiar.
And that actually, in the moment, take a higher rate of the cost of living.
En muchas ocasiones las familias tienen que asegurar primero la vivienda.
A lot of the times, families first have to make sure that they have the housing,
quedando con recursos limitados o nulos para poder cubrir otro gasto de necesidades.
having scarce resources or no resources at all,
Incluso necesidades básicas como son la alimentación.
including limited needs like food.
Por ello quisiéramos solicitarle su consideración para incluir dentro de la enmienda
I would like to have your consideration to include in this amendment
el apoyo para la realocación y tratar basado en un apoyo económico, algún tipo de apoyo.
support for relocation based with some sort of economic support,
Y tratar de asegurar las protecciones de los derechos de vivienda de las personas y evitar desalojos injustificados.
try to assure the rights of unjust evictions.
Y agradecemos mucho su apoyo por lograr este fin común y tratar de asegurar el bienestar de las familias de nuestra ciudad.
We really appreciate your support in trying to reach this common goal.
Thank you. Gracias. Gracias por su
Gracias.
atención.
Thank you.
Luis Ángel.
Buenas noches, Mayor, miembros del City Council y a todos los aquí presentes.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the City Council, and everybody here present.
Mi nombre es Luis, soy miembro de TODEC y vivo en Perris.
My name is Luis. I am a TODEC member, and I live in Paris.
Hoy estoy aquí para representar a la comunidad migrante trabajadora
I am here to represent the migrant workers and workers here,
y para compartir lo que vivimos y escuchamos todos los días.
and to share everything we live through and we go through every day.
Cuando ocurre un desalojo de un día para otro, el impacto es enorme.
When we have an eviction from one day to the next, the impact is huge.
No solo afecta a quienes llevan los ingresos al hogar,
Not only affects the people that bring in the income to the home,
sino que afecta a toda la familia.
it affects the whole family.
Genera estrés, preocupación
Generates stress, worry,
y un ambiente de incertidumbre.
and just a feeling of uncertainty.
Incluso los niños pequeños lo resienten, porque toda la dinámica del hogar cambia de un momento a
Even the
otro.
small children feel it because the whole dynamic of the family changes from one moment to the next.
Esto es una realidad en nuestra comunidad
It's a reality in our community,
y por eso estoy aquí para expresar lo que muchos quisieran decir,
and that's why I'm here to express what a lot of people would want to say.
pero que por la situación actual tienen miedo de salir de sus
But
hogares
because of the actual situation, they're afraid to leave their homes
para algo que no sea trabajar o comprar alimentos.
for something that is not meant for work or just to go out and buy food.
Necesitamos un fondo de apoyo para que cuando las familias se enfrenten a estas situaciones,
We need some funds or support so that when families face these situations,
puedan tener un recurso al que acudir
they can have a resource to go to
y no quedarse completamente vulnerables ante una crisis tan
and
difícil.
not be completely vulnerable to such a crisis.
Gracias por su tiempo y por su apoyo.
Thank you for your time and for your support.
Thank you.
Ramón Jiménez.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Ramón Jiménez.
Good afternoon. My name is Ramon Jimenez.
Vengo de parte de TODEC.
I am here on behalf of TODEC.
Quiero también hablar sobre la vivienda y los problemas que afecta a la comunidad.
I also want to talk about the housing and the problems or the difficulties that affect the community.
He visto que cuando son desalojados de manera pronta,
I have seen that when they are unjustly evicted,
toda su vida diaria cambia.
the whole daily life changes.
He visto que muchos niños, por ejemplo, en la escuela,
I have seen a lot of children, for example, at school,
tienen que faltar a causa de esto
they have to miss school because of this.
y que están también estresados por causa de los problemas
And they are
económicos
really stressed because of these issues.
y que los padres no saben cómo poder ayudar a los hijos.
The parents don't know how to help their children.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maribel Núñez.
Hello, everyone. I want to thank staff and Paris City Council and the Ways and Means Committee, the different Ways and Means Committee members. I had approached council members, and as we saw, November 14, 2023, and I just want to make sure that it's clear that we were asking for the city to go further than what Luz and a lot of us have done in Sacramento. And so I was very disappointed what was being proposed at the state level, and I feel we were very disrespected. We go to Sacramento all the time. What is it that we're passing? It's bare bones. So I really appreciate that the city staff also did research that adding great grandkids and all of that, some of the ideas that you guys had proposed benefited the landlords. So I'm happy that Councilmember Nava is asking about the 2.5 relocation assistance again. That's something that Councilmember Vallejo had brought up at the Ways and Means Committee. I think that what I would just add is that the LLC for different individuals or corporations, we appreciate, we're not after the mama and papas. I know some of the council members here are small landlords, and that's great. We need to get that extra income. We're on your side. But if you look at Senator DeRosso, she introduced Senate Bill 1201 back in 2024, and that had asked to go further about LLCs. We don't get to see the disclosure of names, or you see these big corporations having different LLCs. So we need a little bit further. That's why we're here, to go further with AB 1482. We did get some votes in Sacramento, but money in politics reigns supreme. So we didn't get SB 1201. So looking at some of that language, I would really ask that we look at that. Maybe that's more we could discuss today or the second reading, so we could really know which ones are the mama and papas. And so I think it's something very important to look at. I want to think about looking at the 2-year requirement for people to move in. You had heard from Rosa Beltran from UDW. She lives in Paris. She rented a house. And so, she didn't have a lot of protections. And so during COVID, and that's when she got kicked out. So having put a lot of the recommendations that Baldwin Park and Antioch had recommended about the owner move-in, I would really recommend. The other thing is also looking at, what was I going to say? Sorry, I'm running out of time here. Is looking at particularly we want to thank you about the police report, the multilingual. That's really important. Language is very important. So I wanted to not forget to thank you for all of that. But looking at the substantial remodeling definition that we see in Claremont, and yes, I really thank you, and please take
Thank you.
Veronica Garcia.
Good evening, council members. My name is Veronica Garcia, and I'm the Housing Practice Group Director at Inland Counties Legal Services. We provide free legal aid to qualified residents of San Bernardino and Riverside counties, and I want to be very clear that I'm not here necessarily to advocate for or against any particular ordinance or policy draft. My purpose tonight is to share information and observations from the families and individuals we serve here in Paris. And it was a little shocking, yet not surprising, to learn there's only 160 approximately authorized rentals in Paris. Since 2023, ICLS has assisted over 320 individual households in Paris. And that's with landlord-tenant issues ranging from notices to vacate, habitability concerns, rent increases, and eviction matters. In our day-to-day work, some of the same themes come up over and over again. Clients confused about what their notice means, whether they did something wrong, how much time they have, or whether the notice is no fault or at fault. And these are consistent issues we see when people come to us for guidance. And we find that clarity, whatever the rule may be, reduces some of that confusion and conflict. And when expectations are clear for both the landlord and the tenant, we have notices that are easier to comply with, fewer misunderstandings that escalate into legal action, and then, of course, residents have better outcomes when they need to transition. And property owners are also benefited by more confident that they're following the law correctly, because there's also a lot of confusion there. And a large portion of the households we assist include seniors, individuals with disabilities, multi-generational housing, caring for children. And for these groups, even small changes can, even in notice timing and documentation, can have a huge impact. And in the Inland Empire, we're seeing an increase of properties that have been purchased by investment groups or equity-based owners, a pattern that many long-term residents describe receiving a no-fault notice from their longtime landlord, moving out, and then they watch their property remain vacant for months while it's prepared for resale. And as Maribel shared, there's a lot of issues with LLCs that are kind of hiding, and it makes it very difficult for us to track down who the actual owners are of properties, so some clarity there is always beneficial for tenants and landlords. For seniors and long-term tenants, it can be very destabilizing. They don't understand why they have to move, especially if they've been in good standing, and then seeing a home remain empty. These are the kinds of experience that people share with us when they come to our clinics or for representation at their unlawful detainer trials. And I appreciate the opportunity to share what we're seeing with our caseload. Again, we don't take a position on any ordinance. We can only share what we see from our clients, and of course, with a fair number here in Paris. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to provide additional data and any caseload trends if that's something that's desired by the council.
You have a card you can share?
I do, yes.
If you can pass it to one of my staff members, thank you.
Alex Mesa.
Good evening. What else can I say on the subject that isn't already being said by folks? If I indicate my leanings one way or another way, who knows what the outcome of that is supposed to be. So maybe the one thing I will say, just because it's, rather clear, I pray to the Lord of hosts that some of the people here who are still very very innocent and have a lot of good intentions here, and who've come here with an open mind and who are genuinely supplicating here to get something concrete that achieves the written imperative of going somehow beyond existing state law and state protections. I hope that they will get that. I hope that they will get something that follows suit. Otherwise, we end up with nothing but a list of, we've decided to go along with state recommendations. Either we found they were robust enough, or we found that what the council wanted would have actually been too pro-landlord, or for this reason or another, we end up with something effectively what? What would the word be, folks? Neutered? When the people came here, worked for years now, for much more? I hope that we can at least get some of what we're starting to lean towards in terms of going above with at least compensating people when their life is being upended and, again, just cause is not established. And as far as this idea of including incident logs and reports as sufficient grounds for saying that, that there's just cause for eviction, I'm surprised that people aren't recommending that be struck as being too explicitly pro-landlord. I mean, even the discussion came up in the council. Some of you mentioned, Mayor, you mentioned that people who are already of a litigious or touchy character could just call and call and call and have nothing in their hands. So,
Thank you.
Lupe Gomez.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and staff. My name is Lupe Gomez. I'm sorry, just try to compose myself. I'm here in strong support of moving the just cause eviction ordinance forward and ensuring that it provides the strongest protections possible for renters in the city of Paris. I want to begin by acknowledging that this ordinance was first initiated on November 14th of 2023, and for over a year now, our community has been waiting for clarity, stability, and meaningful protections against unfair or retaliatory evictions. Families, seniors, and working residents cannot afford more delay, and we need this ordinance resolved with the strongest safeguards possible. I want to respectfully remind the council, and especially our mayor, that these discussions must be held with professionalism, respect, and adherence to our code of conduct, both toward one another and toward the public attending these meetings. Just recently, when Councilmember Rabb was cut off and told, "Let me run my meeting," it came off across as dismissive and discouraging. Our community looks to this body for leadership, and leadership begins with how we treat each other in public spaces. Every voice at this dais reserves dignity. I'm sure Councilmember Rabb can defend himself, but we all felt that. As we consider this ordinance, I also want to express my full support of the Inland Empire Tenants Union and the solutions they've proposed. They work directly with renters and understand the real challenges families face. Their recommendations are grounded in lived experience and should be incorporated into the final version. As you move forward, I urge you to ensure the ordinance includes the following: clear definitions of just cause and no-fault evictions, strong notice requirements, mandatory relocation assistance for no-fault evictions, anti-retaliatory protections, and a clear enforcement pathway that renters can actually use. Cities across the region have taken bold steps to protect their residents, and Paris should do the same and not stay behind. Stable housing creates stable communities. And tonight, I ask you to finalize this ordinance with the strongest protections possible and to conduct these proceedings with the respect our community deserves. Thank you.
Thank you.
Annabelle Navarez.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, City Council, the committee, as well as the staff for bringing this item forward. I'm the Vice President of the Riverside County Young Democrats, and I'm also a resident here of Paris, and we support this item for the Just Cause Ordinance. Young people are facing homelessness right now at an extremely high rate in California, which actually has the highest rate of homelessness for young adults 25 or under. Not only do young adults feel disenfranchised as homeowners, as well as we feel disenfranchised as tenants. The homelessness at our colleges also reflects this struggle. 1 in 9 Cal State students and 1 in 12 UC students face homelessness today. I support including and expanding the Just Cause ordinance similar to the city of Antioch, which is also a general law city like here in Paris. These recommendations are to apply this ordinance to all tenants upon move-in because this needs to apply to as many tenants as possible that could benefit from this ordinance. I also believe that, like Antioch, we should include exemptions that take into consideration short-term and transitional housing, which is sometimes the only housing that people could have access to. I also agree with the IECLT recommendations to specify the at-fault definition to ensure that willful property damage is set as a distinction from property damage that could result from negligence on behalf of the landlord. And that for criminal activity to include police reports. That way we could ensure transparency within the landlord-tenant relationship. In the same manner, we also need to set distinctions and definitions to qualifying substantial remodel. That way we could ensure that landlords aren't using any loopholes to kick out tenants in order to raise the rent on new tenants. I also support the 2.5-month relocation assistance, since this is often the biggest struggle for people when they're trying to relocate, especially when over half of a lot of our income is going, for young tenants, goes to housing. So thank you so much for your time and for the first reading, and we'll be here for the second reading too. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
That is all.
All right. Gonna close the public hearing at 8:06. I'll go to the council for discussion. Councilwoman Alva?
Thank you, Mayor. Like I mentioned in the PowerPoint presentation, I inquired more about the 2.5 month of the no-fault rental assistance. And the reason why I'm considering is because I continuously am receiving inquiries from constituents since the last meeting. And while I served on the Ways and Means, it's something that I know they've been advocating for. And then I also requested information from the Fair Housing as to the data and what that looks like and how much of that represented evictions or were related to evictions. So with that being said, I am really encouraging our council to consider a 2.5 month, if not maybe at least 2 months, which would be a month more than what we are currently introducing with today's ordinance, the first reading. So those are just my initial thoughts. Thank you.
Councilwoman Vallejo?
Yes, I also agree with Council Member Nava. 2.5 is a goal, but if we want to really move forward as a council, I don't mind 2. I think 2 is great too. I also want to mention another one that I wanted to change would be that when this ordinance comes about, it says that it would give them like a year to finalize. I think if we can shorten that, I do think a year is a little bit too long. If we can find a middle ground and do like 3 to 6 month grace period, because I do think this is also about educating the landlords and outreach and staff. And I want everyone to be aware of these new changes that we could do. So if we can add that too, I think that would be great as well.
Can you try to backtrack to those slides?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Councilwoman.
And then lastly, I do want information on what, I forgot who, but someone said earlier about the SB 1201 and about the LLC to determine the mom and pop shops, because I've never heard of that before, but I do want to know more about it to see if we can try to implement that, because that's something really worth researching. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming out. First, after reviewing the information, I think 1 month is too short. However, I think 2.5 is too long. I would be okay with 2 months. That doubles it from the 1 month to the 2 months. For instance, if your rent is $1,500, that'd be $3,000 relocation for the Just 2.5 just seems like excessive, but I think 1 month is too short. In terms of Councilwoman Viejo's comments regarding the 3 to 6, I'd be okay. Maybe we can start it from July 1st, 2026. That's a little over 6 months, but it's the standard in the state. If they pass laws, it's either January 1st or July 1st. So that would be, I think it would be a good time, 6 months, to give everyone notice. I'd also, upon reviewing the police report versus incident log, I'm okay with striking the incident log proponent of that and just keeping it with police report. So if we can do that, 2 months, I know it's a little under the 2.5, but I think that would be, it's more than double the state's average, striking incident reports and just going with police reports, a documented police report, and then from there going to 7 months, or it would be July 1st, 2026. That's a little over 7 months for the things to keep kicking on that. I'd be okay with moving forward on it with those changes.
Councilman Corona.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm kind of a bit confused because I thought, from my understanding, right, this starts over the course of any 12-month period, right? Or I'm not even sure if I'm looking at the right slide, but it starts 1 year after the residents move in, right? And then so you're saying that it should start 6 months? When we adopt it, okay.
When we adopt it, yeah.
Okay.
It becomes effective.
Okay, so I wonder if you could go back to that slide, though. So everyone's okay when all tenants have lawfully occupied a residence for more than 12 months?
No one's brought that up.
Okay, yeah, I do agree. 2 months assistance. I do agree that we could do it in 6 months. I'm not sure if it's related or not. Yeah, I think it's related to this. 140 rental licenses for single family homes. I know we have more than that. Like I can tell you that.
Did you say registered? Did you say
Yeah,
that?
for licensed.
Licenses,
Yeah,
city
so-
business
so
licenses.
obviously there's more.
Right.
But that's the
I think
number
that's
we
something
could
that we
show.
need to look into because a lot of these, the landlords, right? They might be having these agreements with the tenants under the table, if that's the best word, and they're kind of making up their own rules maybe, and so that's something that we as a city we really need to look into. And I can show you definitely some properties during the economic downturn of 2008, and these a family went out there from Orange County, of course, came in here and bought 40 homes or so.
Yep.
And I think that happens throughout the city, not just in one neighborhood. But yeah, I think we really need to look into that. But I definitely agree with my colleagues here. I think those are good ideas. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may?
Sure.
I just want to clarify the 12-month discussion. The 12 months, as written in the ordinance, is only to mention that the ordinance is applicable to tenants that are living 12 months or after. The ordinance will become effective 30 days from its adoption date. So just to clarify, so I think you may want to just strike out the July
I'll strike that
effective
out.
date.
Yeah.
But I think you want to go back to the discussion as to when the ordinance kicks in for tenants living either. Currently, as by the state law, you have to be living for 12 months in a unit for you to be covered under this bill. So if you want to decrease that amount of time, you can do that as well.
Can you go back to that slide? Oh. So I understood what Councilwoman Vallejo brought up, and no one brought up this issue. So does anybody want to modify this? This is saying you have to live in there 12 months before that kicks in.
Yeah. So I'm kind of mixed. Have mixed feelings on this. There's times where you might have an actual tenant move in, and they might not be a good tenant in reality. I'm not saying all of them. But I do know from family members' experiences that they've had tenants, and I mean they wanted to get rid of them the second month that they were there. But I'm definitely open to maybe 6 months from when they first move in, if anyone's.
I'd be supportive of that.
Anybody else? 6 months? That's 3 already.
I agree.
I'm leaning toward 12, but in the spirit of compromise, I'll go with 6.
Okay. All right. Anything else, guys? So what we have now is 2 months for the no fault, right? I'm talking to you, Ms.
Yes, yes.
Okay. And then we're going to do 2 months relocation. I'm sorry. And the resident only has to live in there for 12 months for this to kick in.
6 months.
6 months.
What did I say? That's because I'm reading it.
And
12, 6 months. Huh?
one clarification on that one. So you want to change the whole thing to any single tenant 6 months or all tenants 6 months?
All tenants.
Feel like I'm on Let's Make a Deal here. Counsel?
Mayor, if you'd like, I can clarify what the state law says.
What does the state law say?
It says if all of the tenants have continuously and lawfully occupied the residential real property for 12 months or more, or one or more tenants have continuously and lawfully occupied the residential real property for 24 months or more. So we would need
I'm
to
still a
know
little
which-
confused on that. I'm not a landlord. So what is that referring to? So if I rented an apartment and then all of a sudden someone comes in 6 months later, a buddy of mine to rent one of my rooms, is that what we mean by all? Then now that's another person?
So the way I'm reading this is there's one tenant who's lived there for 24 months, and then your friends come in and live there for 6 months, or come in and live there for 1 month, then everybody's covered.
Well,
Because one person
you
lived
went,
there.
You went straight to 24 months. We're not even at nothing to do with 24 months. We're saying 6 months right now, right?
Yes.
For the first part.
You can do it for everyone, if you'd like.
Yeah, but we're modifying this to change it to, it'll be 6 months that they can be removed, right? And then it says, or at least when one tenant has lawfully occupied rent for 24, that's tripling that amount. I mean, I don't get that.
So it says if any additional adult tenants are added to the lease
Yes.
before an existing tenant
Yes.
has continuously and unlawfully occupied the property for 24 months. So it's basically the scenario where someone's added to the lease, as long as one person has lived there for 24 months. So what you could do is just cut them both in half would be the simplest, so 6 and 12.
I guess I'm missing something here. The first period is 6 months. Why would you increase it to 12 months for a second person that comes in?
So the applicability, if I can clarify, the applicability means that these units are what the just cause eviction protections, when they kick in general on the unit. So within the unit of all the tenants, if any single residence, tenant within the unit has occupied for more than 2 years, under the current, more than 2 years, but the remainder of the tenants have a shorter term there, then they can still qualify. Or when everybody in the unit has been there for over 12 months, then they qualify. Then that just means that under those circumstances, the unit is now covered by the just cause eviction protections.
So, okay, for my understanding, when people might sign a lease, there might be multiple people on the lease. Is that?
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So let's say 3 people are on the lease,
Mhm.
and then so it kicks in when all the tenants have lawfully occupied residence for as of right now it says 12 months. But if 2 of the people decide, hey, I don't want to live here anymore,
Right.
and one of
Mhm.
them stays there, well, the 2 people are no longer part of the lease, but one of them's still on the lease, right?
Right,
And then
so if that
that'll
single-
kick in for 24 months
Yes.
under the current.
Then that person, once they're there for 24 months, they qualify under the second portion of this.
okay.
Yeah. Or the unit would qualify under the second portion of the applicability.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, given the number of changes, you may want
Gonna have to
to
come back.
recommend for another first reading.
Yeah,
and
well, that's
then-
why
Oh,
that's why we're, see,
Continued.
she's got, no, I want her to capture it all, because I figure we're gonna have to come back. All right, so I heard an idea was to go or 6 and 12, as opposed to 12 and 24. I'm getting everybody's nodded heads.
Yes.
Okay, so you got that? And Councilman, or Mayor Pro Tem was the one that brought up the incident reports. He's willing to drop that. Everybody's good with that? So I think that covers it. That was it, was it? Huh? No, because of all the different changes, I've been told legally, we need to come back with another first reading.
Oh, and the relocation to
What?
2 months.
Oh, I said that.
Oh, you already said
She's
that.
got
Okay,
that.
I got you.
Relocation, 2 months. 1, 6, and 12. We cured that thing that it's going to start in 30 days, so that wasn't an issue no more. So the only thing left was just to remove the incident reports. So it's really just 3 things now. Drop 1 and fix the other 2. Got it?
Yes.
Good? And then we're going, so at this time, I need to, for someone to call for a motion to bring this back. It's a date specific? Next meeting? The December 9th? Okay. So Mayor Pro Tem has motioned to move this meeting with the change, the indicated 3 changes to the December 9th meeting. I need a second. And a second by Councilwoman Vallejo. It's moved in second for those 3 changes that we discussed. Good? All right. Call the vote, please.
Five oh, motion approved.
All right, very good. All right, thank you, everybody, for came out and talking. I know it's not that horrifically late, but I appreciate you guys coming out and making your comments to the council. Okay, item 12A is consideration to discuss and provide direction regarding the review of Code of Conduct Manual. This will be introduced by City Attorney Benjamin Jones.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We have our Deputy City Attorney, Jessica Santiago, to provide the staff report for this item.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and distinguished City Council members. This item tonight is a discussion regarding the city's Code of Conduct Manual, specifically as it relates to the city's agenda setting process. Currently, the city follows the general requirements under the Brown Act for adding items onto the agenda. However, the city does not have an ordinance
Can you
that
pick up your
formally-
microphone?
Sorry?
Can you bring up the microphone closer?
better?
to you? There you go.
Okay. So currently, the city does comply with the Brown Act and the way that it submits items onto the agenda. However, the city does not have an ordinance that formally lays out what the city's agenda-setting process is. So in practice, currently, the mayor, alongside with input from the city attorney, the city manager, and the city clerk, sets the agenda. The only locally adopted rules are found in the city's Code of Conduct Manual, which was last amended in January of 1998. There's a provision in the Code of Conduct Manual that states that any items that will be added to the agenda requires a 4/5 vote by the City Council. And this provision was actually amended by a minute order in February of 2003, in which City Council at that time made a motion to amend this and allow for any single council member to add an item onto the agenda. Even though this was adopted, it was never formally incorporated in the Code of Conduct Manual or elsewhere. So tonight, should the council choose to change or revise the city's approach to setting the agenda, there are a couple of models that the council could consider. The first one being allowing the city manager alongside the mayor to have the primary responsibility in setting the agenda. And should any council member wish to add an item to the agenda, they will be able to do so during a designated portion of a city council meeting. The second model allows the mayor alongside the city manager to oversee the agenda-setting process. And in this case, if a city council member chooses to add an item to the agenda, they will be able to do so long as they have the support of an additional city council member or a majority vote of the council. And the third option would allow any council member or city official to request an item directly for the city manager to add this onto a future agenda. In preparation of tonight's discussion, we reviewed a couple of the rules of decorum of nearby cities, including the city of Menifee, Riverside, Moreno Valley, and Carson. In your packets tonight, you'll be able to see the rules of decorum of these cities. But just as a brief summary, beginning with the City of Menifee. The City of Menifee uses an agenda-setting session with the city manager, city clerk, and the mayor to place items on the agenda. Council members are able to request items on a future agenda if their request receives support from an additional council member. And for the City of Riverside, the city allows the mayor, any council member, city manager, city attorney, and city clerk to place items on the agenda. The city also holds regular agenda-setting meetings that involves the council and executive staff. In the City of Moreno Valley, the city allows items to be placed on the agenda by the mayor, the city manager, the city attorney, or the city clerk. Items can also be added with majority consent of the council during the city council meeting. And finally, in the City of Carson, the city uses a formal process where the mayor and city manager prepare the agenda. The council members are able to request items in writing, and during the meeting, if the request is denied, they are able to require a 2/3 vote of the council in order to be added. Tonight, the council is requested to have a discussion regarding the need for a revision to the agenda-setting process in the Code of Conduct Manual and to provide direction whether this change should be incorporated into the code or in an ordinance. That concludes my report for tonight.
Thank you. Council, anybody? So I'll start off. No one's queuing in yet. So I think we've been doing it a very good, equitable way. First off, I'd like to start off, we need to change this title into Rules and Procedures. I don't understand why it says Code of Conduct. So if we can agree to changing this to Rules and Procedures. The current way we do it, I like it. I don't, I set the agenda with the city manager and her team and our city attorney as well, but any member of the council has always had the authority to make a request for an agenda item. I've never prevented that, as long as it was done at a council meeting. And we do that, as you had indicated, per the Robert's rules, we do that towards the end of the meeting, which is where, during council comments. And sometimes it can be even done during any discussion item. Something may come up and a council person may bring it up that they want to add have that type of discussion or something added to the agenda. So we kind of do that already. So that's where I'll lead into this. And as for any other comments from anybody, Councilman Corona.
Yeah, so I did take a look at the code of conduct, which I do agree maybe should be changed to the title. I do think that we need to go through there. There looks like to be a few grammatical errors. I know one section that talks about his interest instead of his and her.
Mm-hmm.
There are other sections that do mention his and her. So I just want to make sure that we do update it. As regards to the decision from the council in 2003, that should be explicitly written in the code of conduct as well too.
Mm-hmm.
So that I do want to thank whoever went out and found that, because I was told a lot of different things being on the council. I've been on here for almost 9 years, and I just keep hearing different things. Yes, I do agree. For the most part, we are able to bring up any item, but I think the issue is whether it's brought up in a timely fashion. I know one particular item that kind of helped spark this was, I brought something up in January, and then for whatever reason, it just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed for other reasons, right? But I think lately it was delayed for reasons that weren't, I guess, in my opinion, a proper reason, right? So I think that it needs to be written in there, and I think there was one city, I want to say Carson, where they did say if for whatever reason it can't be brought up, then the city manager needs to contact that council member to make it a point. And that's something that I think is about communication and respect. I think I support anybody here to bring up any item that they want, because we all represent our constituents, right? And I don't care how outlandish it is, I could just vote no on it. And I know in the past, we've had discussions on whether certain things should even deserve to come to the council. Well, I just want to put it on record. I support anybody's right to bring up anything, no matter whether I agree with it or not, because you do represent your constituents. So if we could place that in there. Also, the order of business. I know, and I don't disagree with it. How we kind of moved the public comments now to the front, and I think on here it says
way at the end.
Yeah, it's got it at the end. And which we do have the right, I think it says in here that the mayor has the right to move it, but it needs to be voted by the majority of the council. Now, I don't know if that means every single meeting we have to vote on that, but I do want to make sure if we have that in our code of conduct or whatever the new name is, that we do explicitly, say that, like, in the beginning of the year or whenever. Just kind of go through here and clean it up, see some things that maybe we're not following entirely, and I think it's important that we do follow it, or we change it, and I'm not opposed to that either. But as regards to specifically the bringing up items, I do agree with my with the past council of 2003. Anybody should be bringing anything, but I want to make it clear it needs to be brought up in a timely fashion. Things shouldn't be taking a year for one person to bring up something. But that's all the comments. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I would agree with the changes of the title. I'd also agree with keeping it as is in terms of bringing items to the agenda. Initially, I had thought about maybe having a second on it, but since we are in a district system, we all represent separate districts.
Right.
So I think having it up. I do think, though, there is a point of contention regarding items that are subject to the Brown Act in terms of if we have authority as a council to act on those items. I know it's kind of a gray area, so maybe we can look into how other cities do that. Because there could be, we could say, oh, we want to have honor a now deceased podcaster that may have said racist things. So somebody could bring that up and we could be up here debating that, like I know what they did in Westminster. So that could be an issue that we could be opening ourselves up to if somebody wants to, do something like that. So I think under the Brown Act, I know in Moreno Valley there was an issue where an item was brought up and they said, oh, we're not going to bring it to the council because it's not under the Brown Act. So if we can research that a little bit more. One other thing I'd like to look at is if we can put it under the code of conduct, or if we can have discussions on that, is use of city staff, particularly people accompanying council members to events that are outside of the city limits of the city. I think it's a gray area for having people come and accompany us outside of the city in terms of, or more so outside of the county. I think that poses an issue of getting staff to go to events, to accompany council members, and maybe looking at how other cities handle that in terms of if we request someone to come with us to an event, and just having parameters on that in terms of notice, in terms of ensuring that it's fair and equitable for the staff member.
All right, so I did go through this thing and highlighted several things. That's what we're doing, not just specific items. So then I would encourage everybody to do the same, and then we can come back with the notes you've gathered tonight, and then you'll probably have more notes the second time. But the first my addressment would be page 9 under AE or AD. All ordinance, resolutions, proclamations shall be prepared by the city clerk, presented to the council in a typewritten form. So ordinance and resolutions, I have no issue with that. Proclamations have been done through the office of the mayor, that we're the ones that take the requests in, and we have a beautiful frame and certificate and all that. So I'd like to have that, since we're talking about having things written, so if we can document that. H was to talk about 4/5 of the city council. That was really ridiculous for adding anything to the agenda, so I don't want to beat around the bush on that. So as far as the order of business, there's a lot of things in here that we don't even do no more. So I basically took the order that we're using now. So real quick, 1, call to order, and if you lose track, all you gotta do is really follow the current agenda now. 2 is roll call. 3, invocation. 4 is pledge of allegiance. 5, report on closed session. 6, presentations, announcements. 7 is the YAC committee communications. 8 is our public comment. 9 is approval of minutes. 10 is consent calendar. 11 is public hearings. 12 is business items. 13, council communications. 14, city manager's report. And 15 is our adjournment. And that's basically the same order we're using today on our agendas. Some of the things on the old one was old business, new business. We don't have that. City council committees now. So I think we have a really good order.
With the closed session too, we gotta, because it says closed session goes after
Oh, I didn't put that in
the
there?
meeting. No, yeah, so closed session needs to go before, I guess, everything else. They're at the bottom.
I think that what that means is report on closed session? No? Number O, on
No,
letter O?
close session, because I'm sure Mayor Pro Tem Rabb could clarify that, but closed session used to be after the council meetings.
Up until about mid-2015, it was after the council meeting, yes.
So that's what that means down here on theirs? Okay, so, so technically speaking, we come out, we call to order, we do roll call, and then we go into closed session at that point. Everybody concurs? So item 3 would be closed session, then you'll have to shift all the numbers down. Yeah, that's it. Just modify the numbers, I didn't put it in the beginning. I just had report on closed session. Okay, so going to item, page 13 of this old, is number 8, Roman numeral 8, procedures for public hearings on F, per the Roberts order. So the F reads, a public hearing which has been closed may only be reopened upon a motion of a member of the city council, comma, I want to put mayor, comma, and only if all persons who spoke during the hearing are still present. I think it's only fair that we reopen a hearing, because sometimes this can happen 15, 20 minutes later, and there's some people that might have came up, said something, left, and might have been very important, and we reopen it again. It's only fair that that constituent and/or representative, business person, whoever it is still here when we reopen it. Did you capture that?
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, okay, so if a person comes and speaks and they have to leave, right? They already spoke and they left.
And they left after the public hearing was closed, let's just say.
Okay.
So they leave, they think everything's done, and then all of a sudden, something comes up and we reopen the public hearing. I think it's only fair that everybody who spoke, they would have an opportunity to speak again since we reopened it, but they left thinking everything was closed and
So we
done.
shouldn't reopen it?
If
then?
not, everybody's here, is my recommendation. I think that's pretty fair and being transparent with everybody.
Isn't that what's listed as is? I don't see the changes.
You don't have to I just read it out. The only change I'm adding in there is you guys can motion to reopen, or the mayor can reopen. And then I just said, and only if all persons, that's what's on here now. We're not practicing that today. So I'm just reiterating what's on here, that we need to practice that.
Okay.
You know, I think it's only fair. Because some of our hearings can go long, but we do it here to the 10:30 or 10 o'clock timeline. But, you know, some of them have gone on long, and some people leave. I don't think it's right to reopen something that they're not here to make their comment or present themselves what they might have said or missaid. Okay, appointments, page 17. This section is for precedence of motions, I guess. And this is item 12, Roman numeral 12. Appointments of boards and commissions and meetings. If the state law indicates already how this, and if the city attorney can address how this is written or mentioned.
Yeah, so I think what you're getting at is the phrase "or order by the council" is not consistent with the current state law based on that Attorney General opinion on this issue. So we would suggest striking the phrase "or order by the council."
So in other words, we're going to go back to where we had kind of started at one time, and that is I appoint, you guys have to ratify.
Right. So I'm trying to see where are you saying by order of the council or order of the council?
On the second line in
Oh, gotcha. I
section
see it.
12.
Thank you.
And then two paragraphs down, the XI5, is that 14 in Roman numerals? Okay. I think this one's good. This one says council request for studies. and I have no problem with the council making a request for studies, but it needs to be addressed on the dais. And I think we need to have a consensus by, I hate to see staff have to do a big report just because one person says, hey, I want to see this done. What if the rest of us don't agree? So as long as you have a consensus by the council to do that, then we move forward with that. Good? Fair?
I'm a little bit concerned about that one, Mayor. And then it lists a majority, so that means it would have to be the majority, right? It
3
doesn't-
people.
Right. It
That's a
doesn't
consensus.
even signify a second person. At this point, I feel like we are not experts in everything, so I'm a little bit cautious to say, well, it has to be approved by the majority, when in fact, if we need more studies and we need more information to make a full, well-rounded decision, then that's what I'm scared of, to block studies that would help us make decisions.
I have no objections to that. I'm just saying staff should not have to do it just because one person made the request. Mayor Bertem, what's that?
Maybe as a compromise, 2 people, because I can see both positions. Say, for instance, a subsequent agenda item, we have a study that was done regarding the air quality, which could be argued that should be done maybe every other year, but somebody could bring it up to do it after like 2 months. But I think 2 people is adequate for like a study or something of that nature. So as a compromise, I'd be okay with 2.
Well, and you know what? Going back to an earlier comment too, you are districts now too, so I would be willing to say 2 people's fair then. You guys good?
Yeah.
I had 2 nods over here already, but.
I do understand both concerns. You know, I can see, I mean, somebody can say, hey, we need to do a study on the effects it's having on the rodent population.
Yeah.
And I mean, that could be really expensive.
Right.
You know, so
That's my point.
Yeah.
But it could be a simple matter that is in someone's district only.
Okay.
Doesn't have nothing to do with 3 other districts, and that's not fair to say, sorry, you don't have consent, so.
You're right.
You're good with
Yeah,
2?
I'm good with 2.
All right, so 2 people, consensus of 2. And I think that's it for the comments that I highlighted. So we can bring all those suggestions back to our next meeting, or when, I don't want to be date specific, as long as you guys can get it done. Councilman Corona?
Yeah, can we also get that in a, it's gonna take some work for someone to type it up, of course. But, I mean, in a digital copy as well, so we could do a search and,
Yes.
you know, yeah. Thank you.
And just very minor, which if it might not be a big deal, but maybe the Roman numerals make it a
Yeah.
little. Thank you.
Regular numbers.
Revisit that. Thanks.
I was pretty good on that 14. All right. We got enough direction?
Mayor, can I just request a clarification? Would you like us to bring back like a resolution with
Yes,
with a
I think that'd
revised
be
code
good.
of conduct
Yeah.
attached to it for
Yes.
consideration of approval? Okay, got it. Thank you.
Perfect, thank you so much. Okay, moving on. 12B is consideration to provide direction regarding funding allocations for the South Fire Station 105 located at 2495 Marietta Road. This will be introduced by Assistant City Manager Ernie Reyna.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members of the City Council. So today before you, I have the item for the fire station funding allocation. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into this, and this is something that we've vetted through. It's gone to the Public Safety Committee as well, so we're bringing it forward to the council today. So I'm not able to move this forward, IT.
IT, can we get some help with the slide?
It might be stuck again, I'm not sure.
They're right behind you.
All right. All right, thank you. Figured let the professionals do that, not me. I don't want to mess it up, so. All right, here we go. So just a little bit of background, we've been talking about this new fire station for a while, and back on April 8th, the City Council did approve the contract with STK Architectural for the design of the fire station. So we began the process back then around April 8th, and so we're fast approaching completion. We're about 95% complete of the design process itself. So as that is coming to fruition, one of the things we're going to start looking at is the construction phase, which should be coming up in 2026. And so staff is targeting the early part of 26 to issue that RFP, so we can select that consultant, move forward, and actually start to work on that building. One thing I do want to announce, and as you've seen in the staff report, is that we do have a fire station number already assigned to this fire station. This is Fire Station 105. It also has an address. It'll be located at 2495 Marietta Road. So just a little bit of background of where that's going to be located at. And so in working with STK, we do have our consultant here, Tony Finaldi. If there's any questions for him at the end, I can bring him up as well. They provided us with an estimate of the cost of what that fire station will be. This design phase itself was broken up into 2 phases. Phase 1 is the fire station itself, the building. Second phase will be part of the administrative center. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're just doing phase 1, which is just the fire station itself. So as we look at the cost of the building, and just the building itself, as you can see in that black line there, it's $12.4 million. So that will be starting our costs there with that. But of course, the fire station is going to need some furniture, fixture, equipment. We're talking about, the stuff that goes inside the fire station. And so in working with our Chief Scoville, we've come up with a number that's about $432,000 to be exact here. So that brings our subtotal up to about $12.8 million. And not knowing where costs are going to go, tariffs, just all kinds of things taken into account, we used a very conservative number of 20% for our contingency. So of course, that brings our number up. And so now what we're looking at is a fire station that will cost us approximately $15.4 million. And so now what I'm going to do is talk to you about some options that we did present to public safety, and we added an additional one that at their recommendation as well of how we're going to fund this. So go to that next. And when you talk about internal and external fundings, there's 2 ways to look at this. So the internal fundings are the monies that we already have in the cities. And what we can look at are various categories, and that's going to include our reserves. And so I'm going to go through the reserves as we've done before, which ones we can use, which ones we can't use. That's part of it. And then we also are going to look at some of the development impact fees that can be used for this amount as well. So that's our internal part of it. So when we figure out what we can use, and if there's still a funding shortage, then we're going to look at the outside external financing. And so that some of those options could include loans, lines of credit, which we're going to look at today, and bond measures, which are kind of further out and we're not really looking at right now. But that's how we're going to look at these options going forward. So we'll look at those. I mentioned reserves. And so reserves are a moving target, and what we're looking at here are the reserves as of June 30, 2025. That's our point in time because that's our fiscal year end. These are the unaudited numbers, but they're going to come in extremely close to this. So you see there's 4 levels of reserves. Bottom line is that we have $64.3 million. So when we talk about reserves, think of that as our savings account, the money that's left over year after year when revenues exceed expenditures. That's what we have left here. But then we further put those into different buckets, and those buckets are set aside for different reasons. And so I'm going to focus your attention on 2 of those line items, which are the bottom 2, the assigned, that's $6.2 million, and the unassigned, which is the 27.5, the 27.5. As you recall, the unassigned is basically the ones that we can use for pretty much any purposes that the council so chooses. And the assigned I'm going to focus on next. I'll show you what that number is and how we can use that one as well. Again, talking about the assigned, we have $6.2 million set aside. So back in 2005, the city council designated this number for various reasons, and it has to do with public safety, as I would call it. So part of it was for emergency preparedness of $3.4 million. Part of it was for vehicles and equipment of $1.3, another $1.3 for major capital improvements, and a budget contingency of $200,000, which makes up the $6.2. So this fits the bucket and the category of what we need here for the fire station. So we could very easily use this amount towards that cost and move forward with assigning this as part of that. And so what I'm going to look at now is we did talk about these options at public safety. We had 3. So again, we have a 4th option for you to look at. And I'm going to play these all out so you can see how that's going to look and how we can use internal, external funding to figure out how we're going to get there to our funding. So again, using the assigned reserves of $6.2 million, that's the internal part. We know from finance that we have available DIF that we could tap into of about $1 million. So using that $1 million, that's another internal funding source. So our total internal funding source is 7.2. So there is, in this instance, we could tap into the unassigned portion of the revenues, which can be used for anything, of 8.2. Under this example, we're not using any external funding at all. It's all internal funding. So keep in mind that if we did this, then that would wipe out the assigned reserves, but it would also reduce our unassigned reserves from about $27.5 million down to about 19 or so. So we still have that there going for us. And so that brings us to our total cost that we would need of the fire station of 15.4. So I'll pause there to see if there's any questions and make sure that I haven't lost anybody yet. So, okay, that's our first option. So this is internal only, not using any external funding. The second one is a combination of both the internal and external funding, and I'll walk you through these examples as well. So again, starting with that assigned balance of $6.2 million, we'd use that. We'll take the available DIF, which is $1 million, and that brings us of internal funding of 7.2. recognizing that now we need to go out and get some sort of financing part, that leaves us a balance of $8.2 million that we'd have to finance. And that could also get us to the $15.4 million we need for the fire station. And so with that, we would use, and I'll go over the line of credit that we have as an option now. There would be interest charged on that $8.2, and I'll go over the interest charges as well. But this is example 2, internal, external, and the next option you're going to see is kind of the happy medium of using some of the unassigned reserves and cutting that external funding in half. So I'll show you that next. So this is a new option. This is the one that Public Safety recommended we bring forward to the council. And again, it's similar to option 2, except it's not as much as external funding. So now we have 6.2 again in assigned reserves. We have unassigned of 4.1 because we reduced that in half, and then we're using our diff of 1 million. So now that brings our internal funding up to 11.3, leaving a deficit of 4.1 that we have to fund through external measures. So again, what we've done here is we've taken that 8.2 we had on the external and just split that between that and the assigned. So we kind of used a little bit of everything. So the actual amount we go out to finance would be 4.1, again, bringing us to a total of 15.4. So I'll pause again here to make sure see if there's any questions. Got everybody here? Okay. So then our last option is all external financing only, not using or not touching any of our internals, going out and getting a loan or something that matter of 15.4 million. So those are our 4 options. Now with that in mind, the option I'm bringing before you today that we've partnered with our bank, Citizens Business Bank. We've been with them for a very long time, and I have Mary Wilson here from the bank. She's one of the vice presidents. They've extended us a secured line of credit, a revolving line of credit. Now, the reason for this being advantageous is that it does eliminate, it's a secure line of credit that eliminates loan and documentation fees, resulting in cost savings. And then as of yesterday, when I first initially created that staff report, interest rates were 5%. They've since dropped 0.25%, so now we're down to 4.75, saving us even more money in interest expense. But it's also a much cheaper version of going out and borrowing short-term financing. This is a great option for that. And we'll only incur interest charges on what we borrow. We're only going to need to borrow it as we draw down and need it as progress payments come about. And staff is going to do their best to ensure that we don't get to that level, so we're going to look for other sources of revenues first before we actually go out and use this line of credit. So we're only going to be charged interest on what we draw down. And then lastly, there's no fixed schedule for principal payment and no prepayment penalty, meaning we'll pay off the interest first, and as we can, we're going to go back and pay the principal later on, which could be 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line. There's no set schedule on that, so that's advantageous as well. So we have the Citizens Bank here, Mary Wilson, if there's any questions related to that. So you're probably having some questions about interest and how that works. And so this is the trickier part because we don't know exactly how much we're going to draw down. This is the most conservative options and levels that I can present to you to show you what that would look like. Using the 2, 3, and 4 options that we just discussed, option 2, of course, being financing 8.24 million, and that's at 4.75%. If we were to draw the whole amount down, that's what I'm saying is that the whole amount, on a monthly basis, the interest would be $32,000. On a yearly basis, that would be $391,000. So when interest rates were at 5%, what that would mean for every $1 million that we were borrowing, it would cost us about $50,000 a year. So it's slightly lower than that. So let's say it's somewhere in the neighborhood of $45,000 a year for every $1 million that we borrow. So that helps put something in perspective. Under option 3, which would be the kind of the happy medium as we discuss, 4.1 million at a 4.75 interest rate, that would get you a $16,000 monthly interest payment and $195,000 annually. And then option 4, which is just borrow everything at 15.4 million, you would be looking at interest rates of interest expense of $61,000 per month or $733,000 for the year. And again, that's if you borrowed the full amount right off the bat and did that. So staff is not going to do that. Staff's going to look for other ways to pay for this first and then get to that amount that we draw down. So with that being said, I'm gonna conclude right here. And what the recommendation is that we're asking City Council to discuss and provide direction to staff as to which option you'd like us to proceed for the funding allocation related to the new fire station 105 located at 2495 Marietta Road. And again, I do have our team here, so led by our project lead, which is Dave Martinez. He can answer any questions. We have Tony Finaldi from STK, our architectural here. We have Mary Wilson from Citizens Business Bank, also here to answer any questions with respect to the financing part of it all. And of course, city staff as well. So happy to take any questions you may have.
Before I do that, Madam Clerk, do you have any requests to speak from the public?
No, sir.
Okay. Council? Oh, wait, you had one person. Come on up. I forget your name, sir. I apologize. Alfredo, yes, sir. No, you got to come up to the microphone. Sorry. Got to be able to hear the people in the audience and or viewing on TV as well.
I had a question for the gentleman presenting
It's
everything.
not a Q&A, but you can,
Oh, okay, well, then I can ask
when
the
you
council.
go back, he can probably ask you when you sit down. How's that?
Where does the money generally come from for a fire station? On a yearly basis? Is it federal money? Is it state money? Is it money out of revenue from taxes? And if the entire amount was deposited with the city, can that money be used to gather interest or a bond, or can it be used in a certain way so that it's allocated and not touched anymore?
Thank you. All right, Council, have Councilman Corona?
Thank you, Mayor. I have a question for Ms. Arena.
Yes, sir.
For the money that usually comes for a fire station, where does that money usually come from?
Great question. I like that question. Okay, so as I explained before, we look at two different ways. So, we have our savings account, what I call a savings account. So that money is set aside for reasons like this. When you have something that you can't fund, you can draw down those monies. So those are internal ways you can finance something. If the council does not want to touch that amount and allow it to grow, to the gentleman's point, to have interest grow on that amount, we could look outside financing and try to get something like a loan. There's a combination of the two that kind of keeps it intact, but also draws down a little bit of it, so there's a balance as well. So there's something to be said about leaving the money in the reserves to let it grow with interest, and so maybe borrowing some amount. So there's a couple of options for the city council to decide, but it's a combination really of internal money that we have set aside, and whatever we don't have, we go out and seek from another source and get that money.
So, but to clarify, with the money that we've had in the reserves, we've been investing in and gaining interest on it. Okay.
Correct. That money has been in an account earning interest this whole time.
Okay. I wonder if you
Let me clarify something. So federal is not paying for this, nor the state?
That's correct. Federal, state's not paying.
Very
This
good.
is
Thank
all
you.
our money.
Yeah.
Good point. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for clarifying that. Can you go back to the option number 3? Okay. Okay, good. I wonder if you could go back to the to where it talked about the assigned reserves.
Nope, I passed it. Yeah, this one here. Yep.
Right there. Okay. So when I see emergency preparedness, vehicle and equipment, major capital improvement, and then with the contingency, but what I'm basically seeing a chart that describes a fire station.
Exactly.
Right. So for me, that's a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Right. I'm not looking to fund to take out a loan for $15 million. I don't think that's smart. I don't think that's that's the right decision.
Right.
A part of me says, hey, we do have the money in their reserves. A lot of residents always ask, hey, why does the city of Paris have so much money in the reserves? Right. I mean, we try to protect that money as long as we can.
Absolutely.
But here we do have a need. It's not that we want a fire station.
Correct.
We need a fire station.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of in between option number 1 and option number 3,
Okay.
I believe.
Yes.
Now I know it's really up to us, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not the financial expert. I know I'm a math teacher. I know numbers, but I'm not the financial expert. You are, Miss Arena.
Sure.
So if it was up to you, what do you recommend?
Pressure. So
Door number 3 or number 2?
Yeah, I know, right? I would lead you towards option 3, only because it's still leaving intact the reserves that we have there, and just drawing down a little bit of that, loan that we can have here. So I think it's the best of both worlds, because really we only draw down $4 million of the 27.5, so it doesn't take us down too far. We're still earning interest on that, but at the same time, we're able to get cash on a quick basis to be able to turn around, pay that off really quick. And the advantageous part of this is that they've been kind enough to extend that to us, and we don't have to pay back the principal right away. So there's still that money. We're only paying interest, which is not going to be a lot at 4 3/4.
Still what, like $190,000?
Relatively speaking, yes, you're
Yeah,
correct. It's
I
still a
mean,
lot. It's still a lot.
Like we can find other things to spend that money on.
Absolutely. And like I said, staff will do their best to ensure that we find other ways to pay for this first, and then we draw down on this. So we would come back to council, provide you with reports on how this is going, where the money's at, the whole way through with construction and as we go through there. So for me, I think our best option would be option 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And for how many years would you think that we're going to be paying that, the interest?
So the construction itself probably would average about 3 years is what I would take. So as those payments come in, we'd probably be drawing down for 3 years. After that, we'd figure out, okay, we paid the interest off, and then it'll be within a reasonable time, probably within 5 years that we pay off our principal as well. Something to that magnitude, something that's comfortable, because once we start our budget process, we'll know where we stand and we know how much we can set aside for principal and interest. But I'd imagine in a 5-year process, we should have it all paid off as well.
Okay,
But without touching our reserves
Right.
as well.
So I'm seeing about 15,450 right now.
Sure.
More or less. And then with the interest, I'm seeing it more like 16,000. Is
Yeah.
that not accurate? I mean,
It's probably, it just depends on what we draw down. So, like I said, you can think of it for every million we borrow, it's 50,000 a year.
Or
It's a little
60
bit
million,
less.
I'm sorry,
Yes,
60
60 million, you're
million.
correct. Yes, you're correct.
Okay.
So I don't foresee us drawing down. If you look at it, 4.1 over 3 years, that's probably 1.3, 1.4 per year, if it was equally divided in 3 years. So it'd probably be, $1 million a year, and you're looking at $40,000 to $50,000 in interest expense, which, we can easily budget and be okay with that, so.
okay.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank
Yeah,
you.
of course.
Don't see anybody else in the queue. I personally, I concur with you on option 3 as well. So if there are no more any questions, I'm entertaining a motion for an option here.
Are you motioning for option 3?
I can't. You
Okay.
guys motion. I can second, but I can't motion.
I will motion for option 3.
And I'll second it.
All right, got a first and a second. Call the vote, please.
Five oh, motion approved.
Thank you. Okay, item C is consideration to discuss and provide direction regarding a moratorium related to industrial warehouse uses / development projects. This will be introduced by our Director of Development Services, Kenneth Fung.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Let me just give you a quick background. At the October 14th, 2025 council meeting, Councilmember Rabb requested a potential moratorium discussion on warehouse development be brought back to a future council meeting. So we're presenting that at this meeting. Just real quickly, an industrial moratorium, if approved, would suspend industrial development projects going before a hearing body for project consideration. To initiate the industrial moratorium, the first step is to adopt an urgency interim ordinance, which does require a 4/5 vote. The moratorium would be temporary and would be in effect for an initial 45 days, and it could be extended up to 22 months and 15 days, but every extension requires a 4/5 vote. Just in terms of the criteria for a moratorium, for the urgency ordinance, the council would need to direct staff in terms of findings to explain the need to protect public safety, health, welfare. In addition, council would need to direct us in what relevant general plan, specific plan, or zoning proposals that the council want us to update, requiring studies. The council can also give us direction on what, if anything, the city should study further in terms of air quality study, traffic analysis. Just in terms of what the staff has been working on pursuant to council direction and state law. Staff has been working on modifying the industrial development standards for our warehouse and distribution centers to improve development standards when in proximity to sensitive receptors, which is coming up in the next council meeting. Another request that's been made is to require a conditional use permit and council approval for any warehouse or distribution projects exceeding 50,000 square feet. In addition, staff has been working on updating the city's truck route in compliance with AB 98 to minimize adverse impacts on residential communities. In addition, previously in the last couple of years, just in terms of what has been the product of these moratorium discussion, on July 2022, the staff presented to the City Council an analysis of air quality, diesel quality impact, and noise associated with industrial development in comparison with other type of uses. In addition, on September of 2022, the council asked staff to work on an industrial good neighbor guidelines, which the council adopted in September of 2022. In terms of direction that we would be asking of the council to move forward with an industrial moratorium, staff would be requesting guidance on the scope of the moratorium. One of the questions is limiting the moratorium to warehousing and distribution facilities or anything beyond that. The second is the size of industrial project. One thing that's been previously brought up is 50,000 square feet or greater. The second component of this, after you give us that direction, is what would be exempt from a moratorium. So one option, as you can see in the slide, is projects that have been approved already, which means they're entitled by the Planning Commission or Council and have submitted for plan check and for permit. You can say that that could be exempt from the moratorium. The second would be projects that have already been approved and entitled, but no plan check has been in process and no permit. That could possibly be exempt. The third is projects that have been already been deemed complete, which means we've reviewed all the site plan layout, and the CEQA has been complete, which means that they're ready for public hearing, for CEQA review and public comment. Or the council can say any application has been submitted for formal application, but that would not apply to preliminary review application. And just for a last note, a moratorium would not apply to a project that has a development agreement because those development agreement includes a provision that they are exempt from a moratorium. Just in terms of outreach, we did reach out to the residential development group on October 23rd, which includes the Paris Neighborhoods in Action and the Inland Valley Alliance Environmental Justice Group. We did inform them earlier on, and plus we informed them last week when the report was available for public review. In addition, we did reach out to the industrial community on October 27th, and in addition, we follow up, as we did with the residential community, that the report was available online. In conclusion, city staff requested the council receive and file and provide direction to staff regarding the industrial moratorium, including the project criteria which the moratorium would apply, which I identified in the previous slide. If there's a consensus to move forward, staff will agendize an ordinance for consider at the next available public hearing. As just a reminder, that requires a 4/5 vote. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. Okay, Madam Clerk, I'm assuming we have quite a few requests to speak. How many do we have?
We have 15.
15. All right, so I'm gonna limit that to 2 minutes, guys, because we have to be cautious to the hour of 10 o'clock. I'm assuming we're gonna have a few on opposing and supporting. So, you guys know what to do. Let's do this in a very efficient manner so we can hear everybody and then get back to the council so they can give some direction. Okay, let's, if you put in, please move up to the front so we can expedite the process. It would be helpful. So go ahead and start calling them out.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm trying to see if we could request that the speakers identify their place of residence, for the city of residence at least, on this item.
They can, but it's not mandatory, City Attorney?
Correct, it's not mandatory.
Okay, we can ask them, but, okay.
Juan Serrato.
Hello, good evening, council. My name is Juan Serrato, and I'm a member of the Laborers International Union North America. This moratorium hits home for me. I started my career on the same warehouse projects being targeted today. For the last 10 years, going from project to project is how I've stayed working and supported my family. These jobs are real opportunities for workers like me. A recent survey showed that by 2050, America will need over 45% more skilled and trained workers. These projects are where our apprentices learn the trade and become future workforce. Stopping these jobs only makes the shortage worse. At the Laborers Union, we train the future, we train America, but we can only do that if projects keep moving forward. A moratorium doesn't just pause construction, it pauses careers and the future of people who rely on this work. So please oppose this moratorium. Thank you.
Ismael Gonzalez.
Call the next three people so they can come up front, please.
Good evening. I'll keep my.
Hold on, Ismael, hold on.
Tatiana Flores. Jose Garcia.
One more. One more, please.
Edward Quiroz.
If you folks can please move up to the front, I appreciate it. Okay, sir, go ahead.
Thank you so much. Appreciate the opportunity to speak on this. My name is Ismael Gonzalez. I'm a resident of Moreno Valley, and I'm your neighbor. I came here to speak on this moratorium in support of it because our cities are intertwined, as all of the surrounding cities. We, for all practical purposes, share infrastructure. We share the same environment, the same air, the same streets, the same people. So what affects one affects all others. And by increasing or allowing development to continue, it's going to impact everybody in the region. Let's see. The city of Paris ranks third in having the most warehouse area per capita in the Inland Empire, according to warehouse data from Warehouse City, published in June of 2025. Mead Valley and Ontario are the only ones leading that beyond you. And PBS and many other media organizations have stated that the Inland Empire has the worst air quality in the country. So there is this point of developments and warehouses bringing jobs to the area, but is it worth killing ourselves environmentally with the air pollution and the pollution that goes into the water, every imaginable kind of pollution that these companies and trucks bring to our area? In a few years, I think 5 to 10 years, Cal State San Bernardino has theorized that many of the jobs that are coming because of these developments are going to transition to artificial intelligence. So the jobs that they're selling us for these developments won't be.
I appreciate you coming out, sir.
Tatiana Flores.
Hello, my name is Tatiana Flores, and I'm here on behalf of the Center for Community Action and Environmental Justice, representing over 500 Paris residents to express strong support for the adoption of a temporary warehouse moratorium. A well-structured moratorium is a critical and responsible step that will allow the city to proactively plan for sustainable development, protect residents from growing environmental and health burdens, and establish clear, consistent standards for future logistics projects. Paris has experienced significant cumulative impacts from industrial expansion, and a pause is necessary to ensure that future growth aligns with community well-being, environmental justice, and long-term infrastructure capacity. The concentration of warehouses and the heavy-duty diesel truck traffic they attract has resulted in disproportionate air pollution burdens for from residents in Paris. Elevated levels of particulate matter, nitrogen oxides, and other pollutants are directly linked to asthma, bronchitis, cardiovascular stress, lung irritation, and long-term respiratory disease. These impacts fall most heavily on children, seniors, and communities of color who already experience the highest health vulnerabilities. A moratorium provides a much-needed pause to evaluate these risks and to develop stronger air quality measures, including requirements for health risk assessments, enhanced mitigation strategies, and integration of zero-emission technologies. Paris is a frontline environmental justice community. The unchecked proliferation of large logistics facilities has overwhelmingly been cited near low-income neighborhoods, contributing to a disproportionate pollution burden. A moratorium is not only a land use tool, but also a moral and civil rights imperative. It ensures that all residents, regardless of income, race, or neighborhood, have the right to clean air, a safe community, and a healthy environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jose Garcia.
You call the next three, please. Hold on, Jose.
Edward Quiroz, Franco Pacheco, Paige Gosney.
Okay, sir.
Mayor, Council, my name's Jose Garcia. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this subject tonight. I see that you guys have a lot of compassion for your constituents. Us as construction workers are your constituents as well. It was said earlier that one day puts a family in stress of missing work. Imagine looking forward right now and saying that my line of work is gonna be 20, 30% affected, not only by the moratorium, but all the federal projects that were cut in construction by the current administration. It's too hard of a blow for us construction people. For some people, it's easy to retrain and go do something else, or it's easy to come up here and talk about something that you're not involved in. But if they were talking about anybody else's job, your job, anybody else's job behind me, then it would be different. It's different when it hits home, and we need to understand that. Warehouses are buildings. I've seen churches in warehouses. I've seen fire stations in warehouses. I've seen city storage lots in warehouses. They're only buildings. So let's use our head and reimagine what we can do with these buildings. Imagine if we have a crisis in our country where we have to start manufacturing again. Who's gonna be ready? Who's gonna have buildings ready to go to build supplies for maybe our troops to defend our country? We will be. We will be. So please, don't get fast in passing any kind of moratorium that's gonna affect 20, 30, 40, hundreds of families in our community. We are your constituents. We are here behind you and everything else. Put a PLA on that fire station. We truly appreciate that, bringing jobs locally. But please, think of what you're gonna do and how many families you're gonna affect. Thank you very much for the time to speak.
Thank you.
Edward Quiroz.
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor, City Council, and city members. Appreciate your time. I oppose this bill. And after hearing a lot of the stories tonight from your guys' constituents, city residents, they're crying for help for jobs, better paying jobs. Maybe the moratorium needs to be on the new businesses coming in and doing a feasibility on how they can get paid better and more, and not on stopping growth like this gentleman just asked. And I would like to get more clarification on the moratorium. It's kind of open-ended, so we can get that in writing too. I'd appreciate it. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Paige Gosney.
Can you call the next three up, please?
Franco Pacheco.
Good evening.
Hold on.
I'm sorry. Derek Barber and Alex Mesa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Paige Gosney. I'm a land use attorney at Allen Matkins. I represent a number of industrial developers, property owners, stakeholders, all of whom have projects ranging from those that are approved and entitled and constructed to those that are pending, to those that just own property that may be potentially developed in the future. All of whom, though, are committed to the success and the prosperity of Paris, and that's jobs, revenue, infrastructure, all of whom would be directly affected by a proposed moratorium, all of whom are opposed to the proposed moratorium. I want to remind the council, a moratorium is an extreme measure. It's intended to be an extreme measure that applies only in the face of an irreparable harm to the public health, safety, and welfare. The typical scenario is you've got a city that has old, outdated regulations, a glut of projects coming through the pipeline that it's not prepared to address or to regulate. That's not Paris. Paris, if anything, is at the forefront of industrial regulation, from the Good Neighbor Guidelines in 2022 to the pending Good Neighbor Guidelines and code amendments that are set for hearing on December 9th. Theoretically, if you were to direct staff to come back with a resolution for a proposed moratorium on December 9th, you would be considering the adoption of a moratorium at the very same hearing that you're adopting amendments to the code and the Good Neighbor Guidelines, that the purpose of the moratorium would be to pause development so you can study and develop those. That doesn't make any sense. You'd be adopting regulations, or you'd be pausing development to adopt regulations that you could not then enforce. That doesn't make any sense. What we would urge you is that if you are going to adopt a moratorium, that you exempt as broad a scope of projects as possible, because a broad scope of projects would be directly affected by the moratorium. That would include, we would suggest that you limit it to projects that are new, for which applications have not been submitted at minimum. But our number one ask would be that you decline to adopt a moratorium. Stick with the regulations you've got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Franco Pacheco.
Good evening, Council. My name is Franco Pacheco with Inland Valley Alliance for Environmental Justice, also with Mid-Valley Coalition for Clean Air and Paris Neighbors in Action. This moratorium, it's a good idea. Right now, I'm looking at a map of Paris. I asked staff earlier if I could put it up for a visual aid, and I was denied that. But it shows how much land is left in Paris that isn't warehousing. I'm looking at the map right now, and I could see over 50% of the land in Paris is already warehousing. It's either approved in secret review or it's already been built out. This is a good step because it's going to put a pause on all these new developments, going to send a message that Paris needs other things other than warehouses, right? We had a gentleman come up here and say you could put a church in a warehouse. What about just building a church? What about just building a regular store? What about building a school, a hospital? All these things that we need. We don't need warehouses for those things anymore. Also, we have the current AB 98 coming up when we recently had our freight coalitions meeting to inform the public about the truck routes. That needs to be addressed. If you're blindly putting warehouses everywhere in Paris, it's going to affect the residents. And with little land as possible left in Paris, there's a few options that the council's going to have. So I think it's a good step to put a pause. It's responsible, and it gives your constituents breathing room to say, you know, they're going to be looking out for us. So I strongly support you doing a moratorium for the max amount of time, for the max protections possible for the city of Paris. Thank you.
Thank you.
Derek Barber.
You call the next three, please, after Mr. Barber.
Alex Mesa, Lupe Gomez, Jose Radillo.
Good evening, council members. Derek Barber, Richland Communities. In the introduction of the city's general plan, it states, the general plan is a 30-year guide for local government decisions. It reflects the community perspective of those who live and work in Paris. It offers their vision for the future, not ours. It sets forth the steps to be taken to promote development consistent with the land use plan. Now, if you review that plan versus what has been developed, which is in the overlay I've provided to the council, the city has done an excellent job at staying true to their plan. From what I see, all the businesses we are talking about are in the planning areas and zones the city designated. The general plan and specific plans have been relied on by businesses and owners for years. Please don't start breaking promises to the business owners that you sought after to invest in Paris for well over 20 years. Everyone has followed the plan the city proposed, not the other way around. Richland Communities started investing in this city 15 years ago, and we have continued to do so with the trust and excitement about the future city of Paris. We are a small family business, a father and son. We build balanced communities just like the city of Paris. On our land by the airport, which per the general plan is approved for light industrial, we got in line for permits 2 years ago, spending millions of our family dollars on the CEQA documents, which still have a ways to go. And just as we are getting to the front of that 2-year waiting line, we hear the city is possibly turning us away at the door, closing the window, and changing the rules, when all we are doing is following the plan the city proposed. This is concerning to us as an owner vested in the future of this great city. I'm not here to argue and have enjoyed working with the city for many years. I hope the feeling is mutual. I'm here to figure out what the plan is. When earlier concerns were raised, this council did a great job in coming up with a plan for their good neighbor guidelines. Just remember, it takes 2 to 3 years to go from plan to reality, so you're not just going to start to see the benefit of that forward planning.
Thank you, Mr. Barber.
Alex Mesa.
Good evening, council and everyone else. This moratorium should be one of significant length and consequence, because when the people of this city would ask in recent years why the council was proceeding with a lot of controversial warehouse developments, the answer they got was that we were often dealing with proposals originally approved or brought up years ago. But some of the people who told us these things are people who were already on the council 10 or 15 years ago. The move to cover the city in warehouses was given many years to come entirely to fruition, and the process of endless approval has far outlived its welcome. It has done it so severely that there must now be safeguards against ever subjecting this city to that development philosophy ever again. The city does not deserve to have it happen again, does not want it, and does not have the room for it. We did not get enough in return in the first place relative to what we've lost the chance to do and what we've done with the benefits we did get. And the people of this city put up time and again with the one-off parades that developers put on, with people from Union Local who are, they'll brag in the halls about the payouts they get for singing the praises of a temporary construction project, temporary union employment, so we end up with a few local jobs inside a warehouse afterwards that many perceive as dead end, and rightfully so. Our roads pay the price, our homes, our air, our kids. We heard boilerplate for years about the millions in development impact fees in exchange for slabs that decimated our biodiversity, did not come with good side developments, wasted potential for economic diversification and better land use. We are done. So let's get the fact down to a vote at a meeting as soon as possible. Make this moratorium the longest one possible. Make it 5 years, make it 10, make it more. You owe your constituents better. You always owed them and nature and God and this country better. So let's dress this wound up. Don't take it off for a long time. Or may God finally bring about justice for all the history that has been allowed to be steamrolled over here. The truth will emerge and matter one day, not all these distractions.
Thank you.
Lupe Gomez.
Before I begin my public comment, I just wanted to address the council and just point out that business item A was not open to public comment and actually wanted to participate on that. So I just wanted to let you know. But I'll go ahead and start.
I'm sorry, hold on. Which one?
Item A.
Item A?
12A. Yes, the Code of Conduct Manual.
12A?
Yes. Okay. I can email my comments to you if you like.
I thought we opened it. We'll look at the tape. Thank
Sure.
you.
Of course. So, of course, my name is Lupe Gomez, and I just wanted to share that over the years, through community work and my time on the Planning Commission, I learned something important. Many of us were told a narrative that warehouses were necessary for jobs, revenue, and opportunity. But sitting behind the dais month after month, I saw the real pattern. Speculative buildings with no tenants, no long-term plan, no real benefit for our residents, and the impacts fall directly on our neighborhoods. A month ago, these impacts actually reached my home. I try to keep it private, but I needed to share it today. My son had an asthma attack at a local school, and the air quality was so poor that he had to be transported to the emergency department. No parent should have to watch their child struggle to breathe because of environmental conditions we have the power to control. This is why a moratorium is not anti-development. It's a responsible pause, a chance to reassess, update our zoning, and require higher standards. During this pause, we can ensure that any future project that comes with a real tenant, with real jobs, and a real community need, no more diesel traffic, no more vacant buildings. Paris deserves intentional planning, clean air, and economic growth that protects our families. I urge you to adopt this moratorium and help us build a healthier, more balanced future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jose Radillo.
Do we have any more after that?
Jose Radillo, Tanya Guillen, Luz Gallegos.
That's it?
Another three after that.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, staff. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is Jose Radillo. I am a proud member of La Una, Laborers International Union of North America. And on behalf of our hardworking men and women, we oppose this moratorium. This moratorium will affect our members. As it is, it's no easy task being a union labor. We're always fear of being laid off, and especially when we hear moratorium, shoots, man, it really hits home because if you look at it now, man, the economy is not doing that great, especially with all this funding that's been pulled, federal funding that's been pulled for these public works. So a lot of these private jobs, especially these private funded funding being pulled with this moratorium, it really strikes fear. And when you have a developer bringing in this private funding with no liability to a tax base to a city, it's a win-win for the local economy here. And these projects here help us get these fair wages and great benefits. And I humbly implore you guys to please take in consideration these hardworking men and women that move this city. We pay taxes and we help strengthen the economy here. And with that, please take in consideration the hardworking men and women. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tanya Guillen.
Good afternoon. Thank you for your time, everybody. I'm using my son. I thought I was a little old school. I thought we had a little projector here, but we will work with what we got. Get a little closer, buddy. So closer too. And so if you want to just kind of look at the screen, I'm a resident of Nuevo, but we are Paris resident alumni. We brought out my boy here when he was just a little boy, 2 weeks old. Now he's 11. And we moved out to Nuevo 5 years ago. So in that town, it's been great raising him here. He now goes to school out here in Paris at St. James, so the town's great. I'm here in a favor of the moratorium, just because we do need a pause. Right now, there is a project coming to the town of Nuevo, and I know that the other resident talked about being neighbors with the town of Moreno Valley, but the difference between the town of Nuevo is we're unincorporated, and we have to access your streets to get to our town. The only other way is through the 79. So because of that, us bringing a warehouse right on, through Richland Communities, by the way, right on Ramona, and putting that all the way down south to the entrance of Nuevo, it creates the truck routes that are literally going through the residents of Paris trying to get to the freeway, whether it's going to be accessing the 60, accessing 215 to the 60. Ideally, they're going to want to do the 79 and the Meridian Parkway. But the thing is, since we're unincorporated, we don't have that backup of making sure that the truck routes are being utilized as proper. And so Dunlap to San Jacinto is really going to be their practical route. And that's why we are in favor, or I am in favor of this, just because we do need to kind of now, your city work with the county to make sure that these truck routes really are insured to go through where you want them to go through, not necessarily where they want to make it there. I do have a lot more information, but I don't have more time. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Luz Gallegos.
And then 3 more after her.
Bill Blankenship. Douglas Corona. Jairo Carbajal.
Okay, Liz.
Hello, in strong support of the moratorium being raised here in Paris, working in the fields. We lost many of our fields here in the city of Paris and our surrounding communities. My parents moved out here to raise a family, raise our family and get away from the urban. But since then, Paris has changed. We are boxed in. Our community deserves better. These warehouses should be built in other neighborhoods. Our community, the poor get poorer, the richer get richer. And we, as a city, we need to listen to people that don't have privilege to have those good paying jobs that are just surviving. We're talking about housing, affordable housing. We're talking about our streets. We're talking about our community's health. and well-being. We need to do better. We need to do better, and this moratorium will put a pause so we could reflect and really be intentional of the future of our city and how we are going to be able to sustain the health and economic well-being of our community. The warehouses that are coming in, we hear from community members all the time. They're barely making ends meet. They need to have 2 jobs. So people that are building the warehouses are respect, but the people that are working in the warehouses don't have the same privilege. So we need to understand that, and we need to own that as a city, and we need to continue doing better for our residents. The residents that pay taxes, the residents that work here, that live here, and are trying to survive. Thank you for supporting the financial assistance for no fault evictions, but this is something that's very dear and close to our hearts. And we hope that you all will support a moratorium and put a pause so we could reflect as a city and be intentional and really bring the resources and address the needs of our population here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bill Blankenship.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council. My name is Bill Blankenship, representing NAIOP Inland Empire Chapter, which is the association that represents the logistics industry. Every year, I believe, since before the Good Neighbor policy was adopted, this council has discussed the need for a moratorium, and every year the council decides not to do that. In 2022, you heard and you know very well that you adopted a very restrictive Good Neighbor policy that many of the neighboring cities followed. Malcolm, you were part of that, and you know that that was important. I'm glad you're acknowledging. And through this process, you've had a lot of development come to your city. And you saw from the staff report that you have a lot of development, millions and millions of dollars have been invested in your city. And what a moratorium does, and just the mere discussion of moratorium, pauses investment and makes those who've invested in your community wondering why they've come here. And that's not what you want. I believe that's not what you want. I know the industry doesn't want that. The industry has worked hard to build a tremendous partnership in this community, and they're very thankful to have the opportunity to work here and to be part of the community. But a moratorium stops all that, and I think that's a disservice to the community. It's a disservice to the industry who's been your partner. So I respectfully ask you tonight to please not go forward with a moratorium. You're talking about updating your Good Neighbor policy again. You're looking at truck routes. You have AB 98 that you need to add to your existing moratorium, that new existing standards from the state, which are also very restrictive. You have a very restrictive Good Neighbor policy now. You will have a more restrictive one when you add the AB 98 standards. So please tonight, do not go forward with a moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Douglas Corona.
Okay. I thought that was Isaac from the Planning Commission, but sitting in for the city attorney. Sorry. Anyways, good evening, council and mayor. My name is Douglas Corona. I'm a longtime resident here, lifelong resident here in Paris. I was going to create an interpretive dance to express my support for the moratorium. However, it's kind of late. Stop laughing, Arsenio. All right, so anyways, I attended Paris schools. I became a teacher. I'm now a parent raising my children in our local schools. And today, I also proudly serve on the school board for Paris Elementary School District. I say all this because I love this community deeply, and I care about the future we are creating for our families. I stand before you tonight in strong support of the moratorium on the construction of new warehouse developments. Not because I'm against progress, but because I am for the health and safety and long-term well-being of the children and residents of Paris. Warehouse expansion is harming our schools in ways we can no longer ignore. Warehouses bring more diesel trucks, which will increase congestion around school zones, putting children at greater risk during drop-off and pickup, and causing more tardies for our students who are already facing educational challenges. Meanwhile, diesel emissions worsen asthma and reduce lung capacity. So In turn, I guess no economic argument can justify placing industrial impacts above health and safety of our kids. I guess I'll just stop right there. But anyways, so please, yeah, I support it. And
Thank you.
Jairo Carbajal.
Hello, Council. Good evening. Obviously, I'm in support of this project on behalf of Paris Neighbors in Action. I think it's pretty important because I know it's not a permanent ban on warehouses. It's just a temporary pause. This would give you guys actually, you guys don't have to do work, but time to do better, more like responsible development. Like for example, I think this month or the month before, IDI just started building on the south side of Paris, their Rob Reiner project. I know it's not called that, but that isn't responsible building. Like, who in the right mind puts industrial next to a preschool? The general plan amendment is outdated. It needs to be looked over. It needs to be checked because that's not okay. You know, it's a big heartbreak for everybody on the south side. Oh yeah, I'm in Corona's district, by the way. You know, so I get to bug him a lot, but I definitely think it's important for you guys to take a pause. It's not permanent, and look at all the loopholes. You guys have been working on these things, but I definitely think you guys got to go a little bit deeper, dig into it, and do the best you can for the city. Because not all of you guys are going to be here. Now, who knows? Next year we'll probably have a different council, or I don't know. But it's for the best of the future of the city to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you.
That is all.
All right. Council, any comments or questions? Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Vargas. I'd like to thank all the speakers for coming out today. Nobody had a question because he can't. Okay. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today and expressing their concerns regarding a potential warehouse moratorium. I had brought this item up because I do believe that the current status or state of the warehouse development in the city of Paris poses a current and immediate threat to the public health, safety, and welfare, and approval of additional warehouses will further endanger that health. As many of you know, I've always been open to development in the city, particularly development that has already been approved or in certain areas. I do believe that we have reached a point in warehouse development where it is oversaturated, where we need to take a pause, and that moratorium is needed for that pause so that we can fully vet out the projects that are coming. We can go forward on certain items that my colleagues have brought up, notably the good neighbor policy that Councilman Corona brought up, and we are going to be revising that, exploring the truck routes, how AB 98 influences warehousing, and seeing how warehousing affect our children in the city. I understand that many people with the union have come and spoke regarding the warehouse issue. I asked them to think of the long-term impact. Once we build out this area, where are the new jobs going to come? And in a few years, we've had the growth of automation. We've had many of the jobs that were promised have dissipated through automation, through robotics. We've seen a lot of people reject consumerism. Do we continue building these warehouses that bring goods in when, in fact, we can you hear? Okay. Do we continue building these warehouses, not only in our city, but throughout the county of Riverside, when people need to take a step back from conspicuous consumption and really think about whether or not these items and these goods are being beneficial to our community? In terms of public health, we see polluted air. We see mental health issues. When you take these fields and you build these buildings next to people's homes, it creates a mental health issue. You get in Morgan Park, even though those warehouses are a quarter mile away, the fact that you can see them from the trail, the Paris Valley Trail, creates a mental health issue for residents. So I think we need a pause for warehouse development so that we can address the issues that my colleague, Councilman Corona, brought up, that we can address the issues. And this doesn't mean that developers cannot build industrial does not just mean warehouses. You can build manufacturing, you can build other items. But I think in terms of the big box distribution centers, the residents of Paris have come They've expressed their concerns regarding these distribution centers. They've said that there's enough of these distribution centers in the city. And that doesn't include distribution centers that will not be included in a moratorium. For instance, the IDI projects, the ones on Mapes, and then the last component of the South Paris IDI that's off of Redlands will not be covered under this moratorium because there's a development agreement. So I think we should move forward on a moratorium. The question is, what route should we go on the moratorium? And I'm open to hearing suggestions from my colleagues. And I think we have the consensus from the council, but I'd like to hear from everyone about going forward on a moratorium. Thank you.
Councilwoman Nava.
Thank you, Mayor. And a great thank you to all the speakers who have taken time out of their busy schedules to share their thoughts tonight. So back in July 26, 2022, when we visited this topic, and as was mentioned, we visited other times before that, the studies reported then that there was a need to minimize industrial projects due to their cumulative impacts. And yet those studies were ignored, overlooked, and decisions continue to be made on this dais. And we've seen those impacts, right? And so I have repeatedly stated how dangerous it is that warehouses continue to be approved when they're a threat to our public health and safety. So while we've been unsuccessful in implementing a moratorium in the past, I really like to thank Mayor Pro Tem for revisiting this and bringing this up to the agenda tonight. And I am really hopeful and optimistic that while we have been unsuccessful in the past, that we will see different results today that finally align with community and putting community first. And to be very clear, I am not against progress. I vote for projects as they are. But one thing I've always had in mind is that I will continue to make decisions on the dais that, number one, put our constituents at first and foremost and consider their health and well-being, and to also be smart with that development, because growth doesn't have to be what we've been seeing here in our city of Paris. And it's embarrassing, it's unfortunate, and it's to the point where I feel we've overkilled this item. And I know this is reiterating how I've always felt, but I am very hopeful again that tonight we will see results that finally put our constituents first. And I'm excited for what's to come for our city. Thank you.
Councilman Corona.
Thank you, Mayor. I do want to thank all the speakers. From all the different points of views. I know that the residents, I'm sure my colleagues are the same thing, but the residents are asking us to do something. And I do want to thank Councilman Rabb for bringing this item up, because or Mayor Pro Tem Rabb, if Mayor Pro Tem Rabb never brought this item up, then we wouldn't be discussing this. But there seems to be an undeniable influx of high density and continuous building of warehouses in our city, and it seems to our residents it's without an end, right? I can't remember the last time a warehouse was not being built. I was probably a teenager. I mean, they've just always been coming here, and there was a time where it seemed like the city of Paris had unlimited land, but now as we can see, as we're driving on 215, we can see, hey, we are running out of land. And that day is going to happen where we don't have any land to build more warehouses, or housing, or commercial, or things that our residents are really asking us for. So I do want to point out though that this moratorium is not going to stop all warehouses. You're still going to see warehouses being built. For example, the IDI, which is in my area, which was approved in 2010, way before everybody else here was on the council. Right, that it's still going to be built, and it is in my area, and people are still going to think that I was the one that approved it. When obviously I completely agree with you, it should have never been built. Absolutely, in that area, I'm just trying to make sense of it all. Never should have been built. But I wasn't on the council at that time. I'm on the council now. So I do agree. Our council keeps bringing up a moratorium because our residents are asking us for it. But obviously, a moratorium will take 4 votes on the council. And I can't stress enough. I want to thank my colleague for bringing this item up. For those that are saying that it's gonna hurt jobs, right? I mean, like, I think I stated before, we still got a lot of warehouses still coming. There's plenty of work in Paris. And as stated before, in Riverside County, of all the cities in Riverside County, Paris is number one when you compare the square footage of warehouses to per capita, compared to the number of people that we have. We're number one, right? So a lot of the speakers, I'm gonna be frank with you guys, a lot of speakers that are in support of this, they're coming from other cities where their city councils aren't approving all these warehouses. So it's time for you guys to go back to your cities. Go back over there with your clean air over there and your clean parks where your kids are able to go to school in a clean environment. And ask your council, please approve warehouses in our city because Paris has done their share. We have a lot of warehouses here. It's undeniable, and we still have some coming. So if anybody says that we're not doing our share, I'm really upset with that statement because because our residents are seeing it every single day, right? And it's just a straight lie, right? Because we could all see it. So it's important that we recognize that there's just too many here for right now. And it's important that we do have a pause and that we take a look and we talk to all the stakeholders, right? To the developers, we could invite them from Orange County where they're from, where they always talk about how much they love Paris, but they'll never live here. They'll never send their kids to these schools, right? But Paris is great. Paris is great, but they're coming from Orange County or they're coming from everywhere else. So it's not that we want to hurt businesses. We're all for progress, right? Our fire station, I'm sure we're gonna see about getting quality labor on there as well too. But we definitely need just some time to kind of take a look at it. I know we do have the good neighbor guidelines that are coming to us that I brought up in January, and it just so happened that it kind of coincided around the same time. But there's still so much more that we could deal with, right? There's still some more to address with that issue. So I'm in support of it, I guess, and now I think we just need direction on where do we go to. I think it's stated before, no moratorium is going to stop all the warehouses that are coming, right? But I do support a moratorium with the exception of obviously those that have a development agreement already and they already have a construction permit because a moratorium wouldn't even stop that. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So for at least 45 days, and then we could talk about extending it beyond that.
Councilwoman Vallejo.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I wanted to thank everyone that spoke out today because it's such an important issue and it's very important to hear both sides because there's a lot of things that we can miss. I also want to thank Pro Tem Rab for really bringing this up because this is a long overdue issue that we have been needing to address. Everyone knows that Paris is just filled with warehouses and what's worse, empty warehouses. And I do not think it makes sense at all. Like it's very irresponsible for us to pass warehouse projects when we have a lot of empty ones. It just doesn't make sense to me. I do believe that we need to do a general plan update. We have not had one for like over 20 years. And it's something that we should definitely be seeing because throughout the years, even more than 20 years, times have changed. We have becoming more modernized. And I really want the city of Paris to be a hub of higher paying jobs, and you guys deserve more. And I really want to apologize on behalf of past council, current council, and also staff members where we made you believe that we need warehouses just to bring commercial, and that is not fair for you because commercial should be brought up only, and we don't have to rely on warehouses to bring them. I also propose to do a group study session with all of council and staff to really figure out ways how can we really change Paris around, because we can definitely bring Paris around, and this is part of history that we're making, and we're up here and we're here to decide what can we bring Paris here, and Paris can definitely be a better city than even those fancy cities that, like you see, that are more for higher income, communities. And I do believe that since this is a great opportunity that we have, and that now that I know that this is probably the third time a moratorium was proposed, I feel like this is the best time to
to take a pause on all projects. Let's reevaluate, let's relearn, and let's really understand what's really going on. Because I honestly do not understand general plan updates and what can we really do. I feel like we don't really know, and we're over here guessing. But if we get the education right, we can really turn Paris around. And I think this is a great opportunity for it. Thank you.
All right. All right, sir, you're really holding up this meeting. We know you're cheering on. All right. Obviously, you got the 4/5 going here, so we need, let's be productive now, and let's start discussing what it is that we want to do here. In the interest of time, I don't want to keep holding up staff and all our kind friends that came out to speak on this. So, David, you're the leading charge on this, so I'd like for you to start, Mayor Pro Tem, please.
Yes, I think I would agree with Councilman Corona regarding basically all the projects except the ones that have been issued a building permit. I would be okay next month, once the 45 days ends, maybe looking at exempting warehouses that are under 50 or 25,000 square feet. And just to give people in the audience the background, those are more of like a Walgreens size. Maybe we can look into that, but right now, if everyone just wants to, we want to apply the moratorium to everything. In January, we can always scale it back if we decide to go longer, say 12 months, up to, I think, 11 months and 1 month. So I think if council's okay with that, I would be okay with the smaller ones, but I think right now, just based on the comments from the community, it should just be all for the time being.
I will gladly second.
I will third that.
I'll fourth that.
Okay, so is that your motion?
Well, I guess more of a direction, and I guess they'll bring a formal moratorium motion
Don't
in
we need to do a
December.
motion, or is this just going to be consensus?
Consensus.
Well, I'm asking the city attorney.
You could do a motion just to be formal.
I think that's more adequate, yes. You're giving initial guidance on what to do already, but I prefer you make the motion so we
Yes, I would make a motion that the city attorney draft a moratorium ordinance that would limit warehousing, all warehousing facilities with the exemption of those that have provided, that are in a development agreement, or those who have been issued a building permit for a vote on December 9th.
Nava second.
For a vote.
I'm waiting for our typist there. I can hear her pecking away. We have a motion and a second. Motion by Mayor Pro Tem and second by Councilwoman Nava. Would you please call the vote?
Five oh, motion approved.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir. I will let Moreno Valley know how you fought on over here. Okay. Item 13 is our council communications. Start with Councilwoman Vallejo.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank everyone for coming here. I really appreciate you all. I'm very excited today for the outcome. I feel like this was long overdue, and I'm very excited. I just want to let everyone know to please be safe and have a happy Thanksgiving. I don't want to keep you here too long because it's already getting late, but I really appreciate you all for speaking up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Corona.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank our staff for all the fall festivities. I know we still have a lot more events to go, but you're doing a great job in the meantime. So thank you to everybody because I know it takes Public Works and everybody involved. If we could maybe discuss, I know we kind of discussed it internally, but I know our trunk or treat's been popular, but there's so many trunk or treat events in our city. all the sports programs are doing them. Half the schools are doing it. I don't think it makes sense for us to compete with our schools and those other programs because I did go to junior sports. It looks like I missed you over there as well too. I mean, they had a phenomenal event there too. with the voting, I'm not going to talk about the results of the voting.
I
That-
don't
go ahead.
understand. What are you asking?
Oh, I'm asking if we could just maybe combine it with the fall festival, the trunk or
merge
treat,
it. Okay.
merge it. Yeah, I don't think that there's a need. I do love the trunk or treat, but I don't know if there's a need for the city to have their own event, especially when it's like 1 week after the fall festival.
Yeah, we can strategize and try to combine both.
Awesome. Thank you so much. With the voting, I'm not going to talk about the last results of the voting, but I did see pictures over here at City Hall, and it was line out the door, so we could kind of discuss with I guess the voter registration office about making sure that we have enough locations or enough staffing to make sure that people who want to vote have an option to vote. I did attend the career day last week at Innovative Horizon, which is my old elementary school. I did go to Nan Sanders, but now it's has a new name. But it's just important to get out there and talk to the children about it. I was just talking about like in an elementary setting, right? The importance of being engaged civically, about being involved in your community, and then of course one day that they're going to be the future leaders. Paragon Park. All those that were involved with it. I know that the rain kind of rained in our parade, right? But there's such a beautiful playground now, and that park just gets better and better. I'm hearing so many compliments and seeing all the writing on social media and stuff like that. So I want to thank everybody. Thank my colleague that sits on the Parks and Rec, and of course to my colleagues here for supporting that. It was just it's awesome. A Street and Metz, it's dangerous. A Street and Metz by CMI. These cars are trying to make a left turn, and eventually someone's gonna get hurt. So if we could ask engineer to look into seeing about putting a light, or at the very least a stop sign. I think a light would be better, but obviously it would be more expensive. So if we could just look into that. And then lastly, I'd like to direct staff to bring back a rezoning for the property at 2500 A Street, located south of Mapes Road. To rezone the property to a proper zoning designation to make the existing use conforming. It's where Central Wire's at. So Central Wire's, they've been there for 60 years. So it's important that we do rezone that area appropriately. That's all the comments from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nava.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to take a moment to thank our staff again for putting on an excellent Veterans Day parade, and all the events that I've been attending have just been continuously outstanding. So thank you all so much. And those are all my comments for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes, just want to thank staff for putting on a great Veterans Day parade and all the other events. I've been having a great time. This time of year is my favorite time of year with all the events. And I would agree with Councilman Corona about merging the Trunk or Treat into the Harvest Festival. I think it's going to be very important moving forward, as we may not have the revenue that we once had. But overall, I want to thank staff for all your hard work. I want to thank my colleagues. I want to thank all the speakers who came out today. And just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Please do not drink and drive. Call an Uber, call and Lyft, crash at your friend's or family's house, but please do not get behind a vehicle while you're intoxicated. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I'll see you in December.
I have a heck of a list, but I'm not going to go through all. Just a few highlights. You guys mentioned Harvest Festival, Cabian Park and Reserve reground opening. Man, they did a fabulous job there. Councilwoman Nava came with me. You wouldn't even recognize it. So hopefully we'll be. And I did talk to the Mr. Ramirez. I did talk to the park ranger guys, and I think I got his card. I hope I did, but more than happy to come back and do your hikes over there. So at Cabian Park.
Okay.
You guys talked about the Veterans Day Parade. So an update from the RCTC Commission meeting that I sit on, Metrolink Paris South Station and the layover expansion project was approved at our last commission meeting. This is moving forward with the construction of the Paris South Station, which will complete the final phase of the station. The project includes adding a second passenger platform, extending its platform to its full length, improving pedestrian crossing and passenger amenities, and constructing the fourth layover track to enhance reliability and support more frequent train service along Paris Valley Line. And I'm referring to the very final stop along Case Road. So that was a big plus for us. And then I was, just so everybody knows, I've been appointed as the Division Director for the League of Cities for the Riverside County Division. I'll be representing our division in Sacramento on behalf of all our cities in Riverside County. Thank you. All right. And everybody, thank you. I know I got some proud people out there. Thank you all for coming out. These are tough decisions we do have to make, you know, and I think you can say that the council heard you. All right, so moving on to item 14, City Manager's Report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. I have two items. The annual tree lighting holiday celebration will take place on Friday, December 5th, beginning at 6 p.m. here at the City Hall campus. And following that, the next day, Saturday, December 6th, we will have the annual Winter Wonderland event. So everyone's invited. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item 15 is adjournment. Thank everybody for coming out. For those watching or listening on social media, we are adjourned at 10:04. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
This are important because they tackle ongoing prevalent issues in the community, and at the end of the day, what we want to do is support the families living in Paris.